Hello, all guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome to the newest episode of the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast, brought to you on YouTube, on Spotify, on Google, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Austin. I'm a knockout. Watched a lot of wrestling.
I'm David. I'm a noob. I totally know what episode we're doing today, and as such, I am just as apt a businessman and wrestling persona as the great Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, today we are doing the March 26, 2001 episode of Monday Night Raw. In the eyes of many, the blackest day in the history of this business.
Dude.
Because it's the day where Vince McMahon announced that the fate of WCW was now in his hands.
I can't remember if I brought this up on the show, but I can't stop thinking about that one time we watched. It was something like late attitude / ruthless aggression era. I think it might have been the Christmas special last year, where it was a motherfucker.
Yeah, that would have been right. Yeah, because that was 2001, because that was right after the invasion.
Yeah, motherfucker in the crowd holding up a sign that said, "I'd rather be watching Nitro," and that's just that's an image that haunts me. Of like, imagine how devastating it is to have like your favorite company, and it's the alternative to WWE, and then WWE just fucking swallows it up in its infinite monopoly quest of the wrestling industry.
There are certainly things that WWE did to drive away fans from this point in time, but there are also a contingency of fans who were there for WCW, and when they were gone, they never came back again. The last time they ever watched wrestling was 2001.
That's so fucked. That's so insanely fucked, dude. Like that is legitimately a haunting image, and sometimes I just think about that and I shiver a little. It's like,
yeah,
man, that's so deeply fucked.
So this is the show. This is also the Go Home Raw to WrestleMania, which probably puts it at the most convenient and inconvenient time to have this come up, that we have to address it.
Man, petty asshole, does this right before WrestleMania just as a flex. Fuck you.
It adds a certain poetic nature to it, because a lot of people consider WrestleMania 17 to be the death of the Attitude Era. Not only because of the death of WCW, but also the symbolic. I'm just going to go ahead and say it because we're not doing that arc, and if we ever do, it'll be a long time from now. But that was the day that the WrestleMania 17 was the show where Steve Austin turned heel and joined Vince McMahon to win the WWF title. So both WCW died and Stone Cold stopped being Stone Cold in the span of a week.
So it's just the death of the Monday Night War and all of the fallout that comes from that. Like, all of the dominoes that can fall down as a result of that did. That's insane. What? Wow. We do need to do that angle just because there's, like, so much to unpack there. Jesus Christ.
That's true. For WCW, I kind of talked a lot about how they died when we did the first randomizer and did a 2001 episode of WCW, but I'll reiterate some basic points here. Basically, WCW, which is in a way that is very different from pretty much any major wrestling company that ever existed, was owned by the TV company that put them on television, in this case Turner Media. Yeah. Right. So there was a lot of issues that WCW had that are a direct result of being owned by their
Turner. Yeah.
But probably the biggest problem is that Turner was easily the biggest champion of the company. It was his own little baby billionaire pet project, and everyone else in the company only liked it for maybe 2 years at best. The peak NWO years were the only time where anyone in corporate was like, hell yeah, brother, WCW.
I want to imagine like the entire corporate office for like those peak 2 years. Like, dressing up in their full NWO gear, just going getting smashed at a live show. I would love to see that image. And then after that, they all just kind of like look around at each other and like realize what the fuck they're wearing, and they're like, "Wait, what the fuck?" And they storm.
Yeah, every other year that he had it, and to be clear, Turner owned it from about the late 80s until 2001. It was like, if corporate thought they could, every year corporate was desperate trying to talk Turner into selling this fucking thing.
Yep.
No, and because, especially when it comes to Turner Broadcasting, is they wanted to become prestige cable television. The kind of thing that gets high-paying, affluent advertisers and viewers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Wrestling appeals to nobody that is in that demographic.
Oh, not a soul. Also, yeah, good job ending up with the prestige of Chex Notes TCM.
Yeah. I don't know how well TNT succeeded at becoming a prestige cable network.
Yeah,
but
well, isn't Turner Classic is that the same Turner?
Same Turner, but different division.
Oh, well, either way.
I guess that does lead into it, because TNT became known as the channel that airs NBA games and airs old movies that TNT has the rights to air on broadcast.
Yeah, and then TCM is the one that broadcasts the really old movies.
The ancient ones.
The super old. Hey, every once in a while they'll fucking broadcast the like 1980s pro shot of Sweeney Todd, and that shit makes me really happy.
That's pretty cool. But yes, Turner was the only one who loved WCW, and then thanks to a few mergers that were clearly extremely successful, merging with Time Warner Cable, then merging with AOL.
Oh shit, buddy. AOL, it's a fucking gold mine there.
Yeah. Turner lost power, and the new owners were like, what is this fucking wrestling shit?
We are far too dignified for this. We're AOL.
Yeah. Like, WCW also failed on it from a creative perspective, but that's not really why the company went under. Not truly. If Turner cared about it, they could have rehabbed WCW, but they also didn't want them. So,
they did. To be clear, they did not give a shit. It's so what the fuck else was on TNT in these years? Like, what was the shit that all the other bigwigs were like putting their necks out for?
Some fancy drama shows, scripted dramas, I presume. I don't know a lot about.
So were they just like looking at like HBO and like shitting their pants a little bit? Is that what's going on?
I think a little bit. I think.
That's a number one way to get productive results, is just being like so pants shittingly terrified of your competition that you just decide to start aping their bit. That always works. Never fails.
Right. And so they wanted WCW gone, and so they were. Eric Bischoff tried his damnedest to get financial backers to buy the company himself, but he ran into a problem. None of the backers would give him money if he didn't have a TV slot signed on, TV deal, like a TV slot guaranteed, and nobody would give him a TV slot if he didn't have money guaranteed to finance the company.
You've told this part before, but that's so like the vicious cycle there is insane to me.
Yeah, so he was trying to like finagle TV broadcasters with money he didn't have, and so
wait, okay, I do have one question. Wasn't Bischoff like an entrepreneur himself? How did he just not have like some extra like pocket change to like temporarily finance before he got like a TV slot to like show off to backers who could then give him the rest?
I don't know what all the financial situation was, but I know that's what happened. I do know that's what happened, is that Eric Bischoff needed and had a group of financial backers, but he couldn't, make it come together. Not helped by the fact that due to that lawsuit from way back when over the likenesses of Razor Ramon and Diesel from the very beginning of the NWO arc, as part of the settlement for that lawsuit that went until 2000, was that WWE had to get right of first refusal on buying on if WCW ever went to market. They had to be allowed to bid for WCW. And I don't have the full story on this, but my understanding is that there were some insider dealings happening here that allowed Vince to buy it for a little bit cheaper than was probably fair.
Wait, insider dealings like with Bischoff?
No, as in he had friends in Turner that made sure that Turner would take a price that was a little less than necessarily market value for WCW.
Wait, hold the hell up. So did Vince have like agents on the inside of Turner who were actively trying to kill WCW?
Not necessarily agents, more like, friends, a fellow millionaire friends that you just kind of have backdoor deals with.
So
agents implies a lot more direct attempts to fucked up conspiratorial fucking of WCW, and I think it's more of like Vince had the right fellow rich friends
biding their time.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. Okay. So also, you've laid this part out to me before, but I will never be over the fucking right of first refusal thing is so insane to me. Like, that's so psychotic of Vince to do. Of like him basically just already just because he was like here's the situation. Vince was grumpy that WCW dared insinuate that it was like the fictional characters Razor Ramon and Diesel on their show to like commence a pseudo like invasion war thing. He was so bitter over that he's like, okay, you wanted to like vaguely take a couple of my ideas and use them for your own gain. Fine. If your company fucking dies, all of your ideas are now my property, and I am going to use them to promote my own shit and make billions of dollars off them. Like, what a fucking petty psychopath. Holy shit.
Yeah, and WCW was famously sold for what was essentially pennies. WWF bought WCW for $4.2 million.
Wow.
The whole thing. 2.5 for the assets, 1.7 for the library.
That's awful.
It is. Chris Jericho famously has done he's done bits in WCW docuseries about the Monday Night Wars, and he has said multiple times that he's like, shit, if I knew how cheap WCW was going for, I would have bought it.
Fucking, that would have been a wild alternate history. And okay, I love to shit on Eric Bischoff because these days he's just a bitter asshole who loves like screaming, frothing at the mouth into a microphone about like how inept Tony Khan is like a booker and a businessman. Meanwhile, scoreboard. That said, I have to have a little bit of sympathy for him because like this whole ordeal wasn't just broke his entire brain. Like,
yeah,
I can see why he's like this because the way that he lost his enterprise here was just with the utmost disrespect toward him and everything he built. And I can see why that would drive a man a little mad, like a little bit of Joker moment in that in the way WCW folded at the hands of Vince and K. McMahon.
Right. So, WWE has bought WCW now, and a significant portion of this episode of Raw will be Vince gloating about that. Specifically, this is actually considered a Raw and Nitro simulcast. It is obviously the last episode of Nitro is also on March 26th, 2001, and Vince McMahon, his promos on this show appeared on both Raw and Nitro.
What the fuck? Man, fuck you.
He was absolutely taking a victory lap on this episode.
What a piece of shit.
And I'm sure you also hate a lot of this such gloating bullshit that we see tonight.
This is gonna make me really angry.
Yep. So, but also it is the road to WrestleMania 17. So I will frame how I talk about these episodes, what we're going to see tonight, based on the matches that are happening at 17.
Okay.
So the big one is the main event, of course. It is the WWF champion, The Rock, versus the Royal Rumble winner, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And everyone talks about the hype package for this plot, for this arc, for this storyline. And I agree, it's epic. They don't talk enough about how much this angle is stupid. How how much of this is related to stupid bullshit that people don't care about. Specifically about Deborah, Stone Cold's wife. Because so much of this story is about her, and it's dumb.
What?
So, at this point in time, Stone Cold has been back is back. He was out for most of the year 2000 because of his neck injury had flared up. The real tragedy of Stone Cold Steve Austin is before he ever had his moment at WrestleMania 14, he was on a ticking clock the night that Owen Hart broke his neck at SummerSlam in '97.
Oh,
his time in his wrestling career was quickly going to end, and he didn't have long left. And so in '99, his neck was getting too much. He needed to take time off to rehab. So they wrote an angle where Triple H had him run over with a car. And then 10 months later, they reveal it was in fact not Triple H, but of course Rikishi, because they were trying to make Rikishi a serious main event heel. And no one cares about that part.
Wait, how? What was the thought process? They took the giant ass man and said, "Hey, main event." What?
I don't know. They saw the potential.
Why a retcon of all things? What the shit?
Yeah, everyone acknowledges it was Triple H who orchestrated the plot, but the only thing people remember about Rikishi, besides being obviously an ill-advised heel turn, is because he cut a promo explaining it, and he was like, "I did it for The Rock. I did it for the people." And The Rock was like, "I 100% didn't ask you to run over Stone Cold with a car."
What the shit? What the absolute fuck?
It's not enough. Most people do not talk about this. And most people do not, in fact, talk about this part of Rikishi's career.
Wow, I wonder why. It's almost like it's fucking stupid.
It is. So Steve Austin is back for now, and he has won the Royal Rumble, and now he comes out with his manager and wife, Deborah. This is a little bit awkward, and I haven't had a good time to talk about this on the show, but I guess I'll do it now.
Okay.
In 2002, Stone Cold was arrested for domestic abuse because of an incident with Deborah. And in fact, in an interview she revealed that she had been domestically abused by Stone Cold on 3 separate incidents.
Why have I never learned about this before?
It's one of those things that is not often talked about, except to make jokes about it on the internet.
Why does this man still have a career?
Because arguably, does he though? He's got
a podcast.
It's one of those things where I once again have to consider how much of a level am I willing to be like, I am done with this wrestler forever. Because it's wrestling.
Yes.
I have to have a high bar. That's why I haven't really mentioned it before, but like I now have to watch him be the manager, have his wife out there, and I know that this is the wife that he abused. So it's like, yikes.
Yikes.
Especially when his character is becoming increasingly paranoid and violent. Not necessarily at her, but just in general.
What were they doing to Stone Cold as a character, dude? That's what's baffling me here.
The idea, from my understanding, is that Steve felt that he had kind of done everything he could do as a babyface, and the company had been building new stars in his absence. So he thought it was time for a heel turn. I'll save more of this discussion for when we ever do this arc, But oh no, it was definitely not the time for a heel turn.
Would it ever be time for a Stone Cold heel turn? He's Stone Cold.
Probably not. And
yeah, that seems kind of obvious. Like, sorry, you're not creatively fulfilled, Steve, but I don't know what to tell you. That's just not a good call from any perspective.
It wasn't. So the reason I bring up this is too much of this story is about Deborah is because Deborah, as I meant, is that Vince to try to drive a wedge between Stone Cold and The Rock. Because remember, at this point in time, both of them are baby faces.
Yeah.
So it's more of like there's a begrudging respect here. Obviously, it's two badasses kicking each other's ass, but there's no real personal tension to it.
Yep.
So Vince forces Deborah to be The Rock's manager. So, and Stone Cold's like, what? He gets very mad about this. And of course, because she also keeps finding her way in danger from the likes of Triple H and Kurt Angle, this is just like, why are you not taking care of my wife, son? And The Rock is like, hey, man, I don't want her as my manager, and she's not my wife. She's yours. So, like, this isn't really my responsibility to take.
Why are Triple H and Kurt Angle trying to hurt Deborah?
Because Kurt Angle is Vince's lackey, and also he is like trying to work his way into the WWF title picture. And Triple H is, of course, Vince's son-in-law, so he'll do Vince's bidding.
So this is all being directed by Vince. Okay, fair enough.
It is at least encouraged.
Vince is
Vince is complicit in this.
So like Vince is trying to like Tim Drake, Joker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he's doing that by being like, hey, you see Stone Cold's wife over there? Wifent. She's Rock's manager now, and also Triple H and Kurt Angle, please murderize her, please. What? Mm-hmm. What is that? And the worst part is that it clearly ends up working if Austin just like cleanly healed her. Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. Yeah. Wow.
As I said, a significant portion of this storyline is devoted to this moment, along with epic stare downs and finisher stealing. But the moment that everyone talks about and loves is on the last SmackDown before this episode of Raw. There is a sit-down interview with The Rock and Stone Cold. It's iconic. It's part of the big video package that everyone loves. And with Jim Ross, and he's asking questions, and The Rock is a little bit more diplomatic. Stone Cold is a little more aggressive, but they are both like the tensions are high. They're looking to they're this close to kicking each other's asses. And The Rock talks about how he is going to bring his best at WrestleMania. So if Stone Cold's going to beat him, he's going to have to beat him at his best. And Stone Cold, his response is that on a personal level, I want to beat you, but on a professional level, I need to beat you, Rock. I need to beat you more than anything you could possibly imagine. They are trying to sell this story that Stone Cold is becoming obsessed with the concept of becoming WWF champion again. They are planting seeds for this fucking heel turn that nobody wants.
Okay, I just don't understand what they're trying to go for here.
The overarching story is that he is so desperate to become WWF champion again is that that he will take the help of Satan himself, Vince McMahon, if that's what it takes.
And so they're pairing that with an increasingly like mentally unstable character, and also like the disrespect of Brock being managed by his wife, except it was all done by
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there was a story here of the idea of like Stone Cold feels be replaced and he needs to reassert himself as the top dog, and he will do anything to do that. But from my watching of it, it's not something that is a conscious thing, part of the storyline, subtext or text. So it just feels like me trying to make it sound better in my head.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that sounds like it could be compelling, but also that's a weird direction to take, of all people, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where does that come from? I don't know. Like, I feel like you could do this, but there are better. I mean, I haven't seen enough of it, so yeah, I guess we'll see what the fuck that looks like.
Yeah. The next big match at WrestleMania 17 is Triple H's match, where he takes on The Undertaker. The Triple H, after it was announced that, Rock and Austin are the main event of Mania, and he's like, but I have beaten both The Rock and Austin, so I should be in the main event of WrestleMania.
Prick.
And then Undertaker came out and is like, hey, man, you haven't beaten me, so shut the fuck up.
Hey-o.
Which is true. They have never had a one-on-one match on a pay-per-view before. So
had they faced off in like normal TV?
Probably. They ran so many matches. They probably have wrestled each other before. But this is Biker Taker, by the way. Dead Man is not here. It is the American badass who rides his motorcycle and loves America.
America. This is Undertaker at his most like petit bourgeois capitalist.
It is Undertaker at his most Mark Calloway. He is
just playing Mark
character.
Calloway. It's just Mark Calloway.
So after he's like, yeah, Triple H, you ain't never beat me though. Triple H took that personally, and they just have been like they've just been beating the shit out of each other on a week-to-week basis. So Undertaker tried to beat Triple H with a lead pipe, so Triple H and Stephanie got a restraining order on the Undertaker.
Jesus, Mark, you don't need to get that
wild.
Far.
Undertaker got the match at WrestleMania from William Regal. He is the WWF commissioner. I'll talk more about him later.
It was the Undertaker in the backstage locker rooms with a lead pipe. Clue.
Yeah, Taker threatens violence against Stephanie to get William Regal to give him a match at Mania. So here we are.
What? Wait. What? They couldn't just get the match at Mania? Undertaker's annually performed match at Mania, they couldn't just get it?
No, because William Regal is a Vince McMahon stooge, so he's not going to give Undertaker what he wants. So he has Kane threaten violence against Stephanie because the restraining order is only against the Undertaker. The restraining order says nothing about Kane. So
So we're at a point where Taker and Kane are currently getting along.
Yes, they're the Brothers of Destruction. They're, noted baby faces, as I keep mentioning how threatening Stephanie McMahon with severe physical violence is how they solve problems here.
Absolutely. Are we at mask or no mask Kane?
Mask Kane.
Okay. That would have been really funny if we got like the two stupidest versions of Taker and Kane at the same time.
I don't believe we ever did. I think by the time...
that's good. At least they spread out the stupid.
I think by the time Kane unmasked, him and the Undertaker were not, friends anymore.
But was it Deadman Taker again by the time Kane unmasked, or was it still Mark Calloway?
I think there was a small period of time where it would have still been Biker Taker and unmasked Kane.
Ugh. Man, that would just be depressing.
Yeah, so Kane and Undertaker is set. Kane and Triple H is set for WrestleMania. Now, another match here is for the tag titles. The current tag champions are the Dudley Boys. I don't need to explain them anymore.
Oh, God.
But they're feuding. Basically, they're in a whole roundabout feud with Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys. Dudley's had a tag match against the Hardy Boys on Raw. Hardy's won the tag titles. The Dudley Boys were like, okay, cool. I would like my rematch, please. And so they won a rematch. I believe Devon beat Christian in a singles match to win this opportunity. The night of the tag title match, the Hardys come out, and then out come Edge and Christian, who are like, the Dudleys didn't show up. So we will take the tag title opportunity now. Thank you. And
Edge and Christian, was any of that for shoot?
we'll get to. I'm not done explaining the whole story.
Okay.
So Edge and Christian win the tag titles with the help of a debuting Rhino from ECW. Rhino is basically he is built like a refrigerator and he gores people, which is the spear. He is Rhino.
So he's just like the Spider-Man character, except maybe doesn't have like a horn helmet.
No, but similar vibe here. But he is bros with Edge and Christian now. Apparently, they actually do have some IRL history that is why they did that. But Edge and Christian are the tag titles, and then later in the show, the Dudleys show up and they're like, "Hey, our flight got canceled mysteriously, but we're here now."
What?
And they browbeat William Regal into giving them their title match that night. So the same night that ENC won the belts, they have to defend them against the Dudley Boys. And then the Dudley Boys win the tag belts back with help from Spike Dudley, another ECW debut. It is their little cousin, Spike Dudley.
Was Spike Dudley in ECW a Dudley? Oh yeah, because the Dudleys were I forgot the Dudleys were in ECW.
There's a whole fucking group of Dudleys from ECW. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm on the same page now.
So now all three of them will be competing at Mania for the tag belts.
Okay, that's fucking wild. So all of that was worked then.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
The implication is that Edge and Christian canceled the Dudleys' flights to cost them their match.
That's weird. Whoops.
Yeah. So now, time for the most fucking storyline of this whole segment. Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon coming at WrestleMania. So, way back earlier in the year, to understand this is that Linda McMahon, Vince's wife, was the kayfabe CEO of the WWF.
Oh, hey, we're at this thing.
She appointed Mick Foley as the commissioner of the show at the time, and Vince hated Mick Foley in that job because, of course, he did. So, what Vince does, because
Mick Foley's a likable human being. Of course, Vince didn't like him.
So, because Vince hated Linda McMahon's professional decisions as a CEO, he threatens her with a divorce.
And
this causes Linda to have like a nervous breakdown, and she suddenly is like medicated up and in a near vegetative coma-like state. And now she's rolling around in a wheelchair. She's clearly incapacitated from being able to run this company. So Vince McMahon is now back as the CEO of the WWE in kayfabe. And he proceeds to start publicly having an affair with Trish Stratus.
Oh, no.
He made out with Trish in front of Linda. He made Linda watch.
Oh, my God. Oh, this is so fucking funny given what's happened with Vince McMahon in the past year. Holy shit.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Oh, that aged like a fine wine.
So all this story, Stephanie is like, what the fuck? You're destroying our family, Dad.
Also, so sorry. One more thing on that. Fucking hearing about Vince just like on screen making out with Trish Stratus. I can't help but think about when I read, reading through The Disaster Artist, the book about the making of The Room, and like there being a passage about how like Tommy Wiseau would just make Juliet Danielle, the girl who played Lisa, just like make out with him a bunch in rehearsal.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of consent issues with Vince McMahon, who is both the in kayfabe and out of kayfabe
CEO. Yeah,
boss of all these people, having his female wrestlers in angles where they are forced to do sexual acts with him. There's obviously a lot of consent issues with that. I don't feel like I need to go deep into that problem.
Oh my God.
But anyway, so Stephanie is ostensibly against this. She has a match with Trish. But then, next on pay-per-view, next night on Raw, it is a tag team match between Vince and Trish versus William Regal and Stephanie McMahon. And The match is a big fucking swerve because Vince turns on Trish and Stephanie has been Stephanie's been doing a long con. They beat the shit out of Trish. They dump mop bucket on her in live on air.
What?
And then the next several weeks is filled with Vince denigrating and humiliating Trish Stratus live on air because she can't help but want it. Because she is a desperate slut, essentially.
Oh, I'm sure. Dude.
If you have ever heard of the infamous segment where Trish Stratus is forced to get down on her knees and bark like a dog for Vince McMahon, it is in this period of time.
I think when we were doing Katie Vick, like they lampshaded that bit.
Probably. I believe they did. I think Christian made a crack about it.
Wow.
But she did it because she just really wants to get back in Vince's good graces. I will go ahead and say right now, this is all setting up a swerve at Mania where she turns on Vince and helps Linda kick his ass.
Okay, well that's good at least. Like that's nice.
This is the setup we have to watch on air.
That's horrifying. I don't care if that is part of a swerve. Why the fuck would she denigrate herself like that on live television? Oh my god! This fucking era.
Because because how much can you really tell the boss no when he says, okay, Trish, here's what we're gonna do tonight. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get down. Is you're gonna say you really want to say sorry for being a disappointment to me last week, and when I'm gonna tell you that you got to really show how much you want it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get down on all fours. And I'm going to tell you to bark like a dog and say you're sorry. And then you're going to do it. And then I'm going to tell you to strip to your underwear in the middle of the ring. And you're going to do it too.
Respectable pitches only here, pal. Okay. See, like, to me, the getting down and barking like a dog thing, the fact that they went there for this angle is so insane to me. Because, like, the one time in, like, pop culture I can really think of, like, seeing that is in this phenomenal Korean movie, Old Boy. Highly recommend checking it out for those of you who don't know it. And it's like this giant like revenge thriller. And at the end of the movie, the main character's at his very lowest, and he's like he's getting down on his knees and like barking like a dog at like the antagonist because the antagonist has like cut him down so much to size. And I just remember it being this like fucking harrowing moment of like, look how far this man has fallen. And we're just doing that here with Trish Stratus at Vince because it's the early 2000s, baby. Our brand of feminism is this woman, but then also being like, yeah, rah, she and Linda are gonna kick Vince's ass collectively at Mania, girl power, woo! Like that is our brand of feminism here. Ain't it something? We get to have our horribly disgusting cake and eat it.
Right. So Shane McMahon has in the last couple weeks on Raw, he came out and is like, I've had enough. I've seen enough of this. And so he has come out he's like physically fought Vince, and he did an interview where he was like, look, I've been sitting on the sidelines for too long, and clearly that's my fault. I should have come in sooner to stop this. But Dad, you're an embarrassment to this family.
True.
To our name.
True.
And I'm going to kick your ass.
Based.
And he challenges him to a match at Mania. And Vince is like, what kind of son challenges his own father to a match?
The base kind, obviously.
Yeah.
Dude, whatever fucking happened to slimy heel Shane McMahon, who was like his daddy's yes man? This is great. More of this Shane.
He actually kind of has a character arc to this, and because he says in this interview, he's like, when I was younger, I looked up to Vince because he could do whatever he wanted, and nobody stopped him. Nobody could stop him.
And now I realize that's actually fucking toxic.
Yes, this is like, and sadly, Shane will go back to being with Vince eventually. But now, he's having a hell of an arc.
Shane's not here.
He's having a hell of an arc. So He is like, I am gonna fight you and for the dignity of this family. And Vince agrees to the fight. It's a no DQ fight. And we get the hell of a line that he said at the last week on Raw where he had his goons beat the shit out of Shane for him. And he's like, I regret your mother giving birth to you.
Woof. You know, why do I get the feeling this is just the shadow play of what happened with, like, this year's Vince McMahon hush money scandal and being ousted from the company, just, like, prefigured 20 years earlier? Why do I get the feeling this is, like, what we're looking at here?
It feels kind of like the kayfabe version of that story.
Yeah. Amazing that it all actually came true. Who the fuck could have guessed that paragon of morality, Vince McMahon, would actually ever be like this IRL?
Mm-hmm. So then another match set for WrestleMania is China versus Ivory for the women's title. Ivory, I'm excited to talk about this. I can tell you that.
Oh,
Ivory
no.
is the women's champion, and she is a member of Right to Censor. Now,
oh, no.
Right to Censor was a group led by Stevie Richards, where basically the WWF was taking pot shots at the Parent-Teacher Council, who, as you may expect, does not like WWF TV.
Wow, no way.
So the ROTC is a group. It is Stevie Richards, Bull Buchanan, and two guys I'm going to mention in a second, and Ivory, who are all here. They're dressed like Mormons for some reason, and they're like, there is too much filth and sex and violence on this show, and we are gonna censor it all. And
what I'm hearing is that Trey Parker and Matt Stone clearly stepped into the writer's room to help create this angle.
And the crowd says, boo! Boo! They are essentially a jobber group, to be honest. They just keep getting their asses kicked for the.
I wonder why. I wonder why Vince McMahon wants to depict them solely as mewling pencil necks.
Yeah, here's a fun thing though, is they take a couple of their members are them intentionally trying to like curtail what they would consider offensive gimmicks. That is why the other members of their group are the Good Father, the former Godfather who has repented from his days as a pimp.
What?
And Val Venus, who has repented from being a porn star.
Wait. Okay, wait. No. Back this up. I need to get a handle on this. Is this not pre-Katie Vick?
Oh, it is. So the Godfather will cycle back around to it when this whole RTC thing is over and we want fun haha references. But for the time, he has seen the light, he has seen the truth, and he recognizes the evil of his former profession.
Does he now?
Yes, so he is the Good Father, and Val Venus is as well for the same reason.
Does Val Venus get a new clever name, or is he still just Val Venus?
I think I don't remember if this is when he changes to his real name as Sean Morley, but I do know that I think he's still Val Venus here. But he is no longer an adult film star.
And Val, we couldn't think of a clever spin on his name, Venus.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So Ivory, the most competent member of this group, is the women's champion, and she, back in the Royal Rumble season, she had accidentally broken Chyna's neck, and Chyna is back now, and she's like, Chyna wants a rematch. Well, she'll get it, except if she signs an agreement that if she gets re-injured at Mania, then I hold no legal responsibility for it. And Chyna was like, okay, I accept. I'm going to kick your ass at Mania.
I'm going to murderize you.
All right. Now, a match that has been announced for Mania is Eddie Guerrero versus Test for the European Championship. During this series of episodes I was watching, there was a whole arc about the dissolution of the Radicals that Benoit, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and Perry Saturn. I mentioned them when we did the episode with Mae Young's hand. As the group is dissolving into tension, and Benoit and Guerrero were coming to blows. So obviously they have the blow-off match 2 weeks before Mania, and they don't do any. And Eddie Guerrero randomly starts a feud with Test for the European title.
What?
Obviously.
How long was the Radicals a thing for?
About a year.
About a year. A year's worth of story. And we're just gonna blow it off 2 weeks before Mania because fuck you. Yeah, that makes sense. Good booking. Best booking on this show.
Of course. Then at Mania, we have Kane versus Raven versus The Big Show for the WWF Hardcore title. Mm-hmm. Which the matches are all hardcore matches. That's the rule.
That's the rule.
The champion was The Big Show, having beaten Raven for the belt at No Way Out, the most recent pay-per-view.
Probably for the best.
But then, as part of the Taker and Triple H beef, Kane and The Big Show kind of wound up in that stratosphere.
Okay.
And so, Big Show attacked Kane. Kane cost Big Show the hardcore title match against Raven, so Raven won the belt back.
Oof.
And then Regal set up Kane versus The Big Show at Mania. Now, the last episode of SmackDown I watched, Raven had a match with Jericho. I'll explain more about why that would be the case in a minute. Okay. So, he has the match with Jericho, and he wins, but Regal tries to interfere to help Raven, but Raven accidentally takes out Regal instead. And so Regal is like, you know what? Fuck you. You're going to put your hardcore title, you're going to be inserted into this Kane versus Big Show match at WrestleMania, and your hardcore title is going to be on the line.
Oh, wow. So just
everyone's
saying fuck you. Everyone's saying fuck you to each other.
Yeah. So now the last match set up for Mania is Chris Jericho versus William Regal for the Intercontinental title. Jericho is the Intercontinental Champion. Regal was inserted as the WWF Commissioner. And Jericho was like, I sure hope you're not a Vince McMahon toady. And William Regal would proceed to be exactly what Chris Jericho thought he would be.
You're totally not a cop, right? Oh yeah, totally. Freeze, motherfucker.
Like Regal is good in this role, but he is every heel general manager trope ever, so I'm not going to go deep into it.
God.
But Jericho
takes such a disservice by making Cody. Oh God.
Chris Jericho makes it his personal mission as a babyface now to be like, fuck you, heel general manager. And heel general manager is like, I'm going to be shit to you in particular.
Man, the truth, I think few people have yo-yoed their alignment more in pro wrestling than Chris goddamn Jericho. That man flips on a dime between being this virtuous paragon of the industry to being like, yeah, I'm just gonna murder everyone and cheat about everything, and
I'm gonna be a total jackass.
Yeah, he goes from reveling, knowing that he's a piece of shit and reveling in it, to being like, I am a pious man. No temptation can stray me from the path of God.
So, Regal sets the match, and probably the most infamous thing in this whole angle I think it's the only thing even worth mentioning about it is there is a backstage segment where Chris Jericho gets into Regal's office while Regal is out of the office, and Jericho pisses in Regal's tea.
Oh, hey, this angle!
And then Regal drinks the tea, and Michael Cole, that fucking snitch, tells Regal about it in a backstage interview.
Oh, wow.
So that he knows he drank piss tea. He drank piss tea.
Fucking ultimate shitster, Michael Cole. Get out of here. Wait. Hold up. This is so funny to me. Because they were running, Jericho Appreciation Society and Blackpool Combat Club and AEW are locked in a forever feud. And fucking.
They're drawing too much ratings, David. They can't turn it away.
No, I love the Forever Feud. I say that with no derision. I unironically love the Blackpool Combat Club versus Jericho Appreciation Society Forever Feud. It makes me so happy because it just, like, the dynamics will never get old. I love that shit, unironically. But, like, as part of that, they did, like, Regal and Jericho, like, fucking hating each other. But it's, Regal is, like, the valiant, like, head of the BCC versus ultimate shitheel Chris Jericho. And they talk about the T-Piss thing, but the roles were reversed when that happened. Jericho was the baby face.
Yeah, it was ha
damn.
ha ha. It was ha ha. Look, let's make fun of the bad guy having to drink piss.
You can get away with anything as a baby face. 2001 edition.
Absolutely.
Goddamn.
Yeah, I guess last thing I want to mention is I think you'll find the commentary team interesting.
Okay.
As right now, the commentary team is Jim Ross and Paul Heyman.
Okay.
Because first of all WWF is a few weeks back. WWF fired the Cat. The Cat was a female wrestler, I suppose, who is famous for exactly two things. One, going topless on a pay-per-view in the year 2000, and being married to Jerry Lawler. So the Cat gets fired, and Jerry Lawler quit in solidarity.
Squad W Jerry Lawler?
Don't worry, he'll divorce from her in like 8 months and beg for his job back.
Oh, I'm sure he's like, happy fulfilling marriage, career where I sexually harass people. Career where I sexually harass people.
Yeah, so Lawler is gone from the company and brought in instead is old Paul Heyman. Because basically, let's check out ECW's timeline right now.
Yeah, wait.
ECW as a company still legally exists, but they haven't run a show since January.
Oh no!
Because they are broke, and they are going bankrupt soon. And so Paul Heyman jumped out of that ship, and he's just took the job at the Fed. That's what he did.
He had that emergency parachute ready to fucking go as he jumped out of that crashing plane.
And he allegedly did not inform any of the wrestlers that, by the way, this company's going bankrupt soon. Yeah, why so would I'm not paying y'all shit.
Wow, why would he?
I don't know. I assume some sort of professional courtesy, but you know.
Bold of you to assume that Paul Heyman is professional courtesy.
Speaking of professional courtesy, I want to go ahead and we've talked about how he basically owes everyone and their mother money from ECW. I actually pulled up, to get the timeline right, I pulled up the Wikipedia page for ECW today, and they happen to have a lot of information about the company's financial situation at the time of it going under. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this off to you. The company was listed as having assets totaling $1,385,500. Included in that number was $860,000 in accounts receivable. So for people who don't know what that is, because they are not accounting people like me, accounts receivable is literally just money that is owed to you, but is reasonably assumed that you will get that money.
Yes, I do remember that from my accounting class.
But you don't have it. So it is concerning that the majority of the assets of this company are debts owed.
Interesting.
Anyway, back to $860,000 in accounts receivable owed the company by In-Demand Network for pay-per-view, Acclaim for the video games, and Original San Francisco Toy Company for action figures. The balance of the assets were the videotape library at $500,000, a 1998 Ford truck worth $19,500, and the remaining inventory of merchandise, $4. The liabilities of the company totaled $8,881,435.17. Wrestlers and talent were listed with amounts owed ranging from $2 for Sabu and Steve Corino to hundreds and in some cases thousands of dollars. The highest amounts owed to talents were Rob Van Dam, $150,000. Shane Douglas, $145,000. Tommy Dreamer, $100,000. Joey Styles, $50,480. Rhino, $50,000. And Francine Fournier, $47,275.
So you might say ECW was a little bit in the red.
Very in the red.
And
this is why damn near every person who has ever worked for ECW has, I will say, mixed feelings about Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I know. Hey, that's always what I think about is like the fact that like Rey Mysterio, who strikes me as the biggest cinnamon roll in the universe, probably also fucking hates Paul Heyman. Like, imagine being such a dipshit that you get Rey Mysterio to like have a bone to pick with you. Oh, yeah, it's so good. Fucking Paul.
Carney's gonna Carney.
Carney's gonna Carney.
So yeah, that is all to say that Paul Heyman has bounced on ECW. They will not officially go bankrupt for a few more weeks.
God.
He wears ECW merch at the announce table.
What the fuck? What is his angle here?
He reps ECW knowing that he is about to bankrupt. The company is bankrupt and is about to go down out of business.
I guarantee you that's all the save face with like the talent that he owed money to. Of like, oh no, guys, we're totally fine. See, I'm ripping the merchandise. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure when a bunch of them get hired for the invasion angle, that was also his argument.
Hey, look, see, we're all
I got you guys jobs.
I got you guys jobs. All debts are paid.
Right?
Christ.
So when that first paycheck hits, that comes out of the debt owed to you from me, you see.
Yeah. So really, if anything, I should be getting this money. You think about it.
I'm sure Heyman could have tried to finagle accounting like that, if he could have.
I am the Heyman, and you will obey me.
So Heyman's at the announce desk. Famously, this did not last very long because
I wonder why.
Because Paul Heyman has a phenomenal ability to make everyone he has ever interacted with for any lengthy period of time hate him. And
both in kayfabe and out.
And it is fair to say that Jim Ross hated working with Paul Heyman because Paul Heyman made it his personal mission to, as part of the face heel dynamic, make Jim Ross annoyed.
Yeah, that is what you tend to do.
True,
but I'm sure Heyman took it way too fucking far.
Yes, he needled JR in a way that Lawler never did. And so Jim Ross hated his fucking job when he had to work with Heyman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it was as I fucking hate Lawler. Like, I will give him that. Like, he and JR had like playful banter. Like, they had a dynamic going where it was almost like a less antagonistic, like proto gorilla Heenan, where fucking good old King would say something ridiculous, and JR would be like, "Oh, well, come on now, King. Is that really necessary? And Jimmy would be like, woo, 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 and like that'd be it. I'm sure Heyman took that shit, ran way too goddamn far, and actually pissed JR off.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I just felt it'd be interesting for you to know the commentary team's a little unusual for
so what I'm hearing right now, we took a decent chunk, about an hour here to say like everything's kind of fucking wild right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is wild. Nothing is normal. Vince is simulcasting on Nitro. Stone Cold's about to turn heel. The only somewhat normal thing is like, I don't know, Trips versus Taker is coming up. We have like Blame Canada as
McMahon family drama is actually compelling.
McMahon family drama is actually compelling, and like not all of them are awful people this time, and a majority of them are good people. Kind of, maybe, sort of.
Half of them are. You know,
half
Shane
of them
and Linda
are
right.
Yeah. Shane is actually likable for once. Blame Canada is just has an on-screen personality. And goddamn Paul Heyman is running commentary. Cats and dogs living together, total pandemonium.
Yep. And so, if you'd like to watch this along with us, well, WWE has a streaming service. It's called Peacock.
Hey, fuck Peacock.
Yeah, $4.99 a month with ads, $9.99 a month without ads, yada yada yada. Let's get on with it. We will be back talking about the March 26, 2001 episode of Monday Night Raw.
Hell yeah.
And we are back. We have finished the March 26, 2001 episode of Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. Wow. I don't even know Austin, what was going on in 2001 that did this to this company? Because everything we've seen from around that time, and hell, from fucking WCW too, everything is stupid, Austin. Everything is really stupid. And it's a level of stupid that I legitimately can't wrap my head around. Like, this is WWF being a parody of itself. Unironically, this whole thing is WWF being a giant parody of itself. And boy, howdy, can I understand why a whole fucking bunch of people got turned off to the show in this era. Because this is just stupid. And how did the company even get here? And furthermore, how did it survive?
Well, I think it got here because Vince Russo, his philosophies blew up the company in 97 and 98. And even after he left, WWE kept trying to repeat the formula to varying degrees of success. So I feel like a lot of Vince Russo's philosophies about wrestling are still here, even if his crass bullshit is not.
I don't know. I guess. Yeah, that's probably some of it, but like, how do you not like, well, okay. I was going to say, how do you not take a step back and realize, man, this is getting really off the rails? But then I realized, oh yeah, the formula was still working and they were still making ass loads of money.
This is the period of time, and I will go deeper into one of these things in a bit.
There's a lot of like going deeper.
They're currently dumping so much. They have so much fuck money. They are dumping money into a football league and a Times Square restaurant.
Oh, the fucking we'll get to the XFL.
So, like, they don't give a fuck. Everything is hitting. They can do whatever they want.
It's so wild to me. And the fans who were here, like, had drank the Kool-Aid so hard. I'll touch on this a little bit later too, but like, this episode illuminated for me, I think, more than anything we've watched before, where like a certain breed of wrestling fan was born from. And it's the breed of wrestling fan that is really good at getting me fucking tilted online.
So we open this show with Vince backstage. He has got a CRTV on to show Raw and a CRTV on to show Nitro.
God, I want to smack him so fucking bad already. Oh, you smarmy piece of shit.
And Vince announces to the world that he is now the owner of WCW and he has purchased his competition.
Isn't that just great? And he's sitting at these two monitors and like watching the both shows simulcast in his room, and he's like comparing them in the most way possible.
I meant to like try to catch what he says, but every single time we cut back to him watching Nitro, he takes little digs at WCW wrestlers.
Yeah,
which because is now they are his employees and he can.
And he's gloating like a bitch.
He is. But he says that tonight that he has the ability to address the WWF fans, the WCW wrestlers, and the WCW fans about what this all means. Vince puts it, one man will make history, and that's me.
And what it all means is all of you go fuck yourselves.
Right. So at this point in the show, I believe it was still the case where Nitro was airing from 8 to 10 and Raw was airing from 9 to 11. Okay. So WCW is in the middle of their show.
Yeah.
As Raw starts, and as the show opens, Jeff Jarrett is on screen, and boy, I feel like I have to explain this one because it probably feels weird. But please. Vince McMahon, absolutely more than most WCW wrestlers, hated Jeff Jarrett, and was
why?
Because last time Jeff Jarrett was in the company in '99, I want to say is when this all occurred. It was either 99, I believe, is when this all blew up. He was in a intercontinental title feud with China. Jeff Jarrett was throwing a hissy fit about having to put over a woman. And it all blew up to where Jeff Jarrett threatened to walk out on Vince if he didn't pay him a bonus or something. He basically held up Vince for money live on a show. Jesus. And after the show, Vince fired him immediately. And so Vince is particularly feeling petty to old Jeff Jarrett.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Very few wrestlers come back from... why did I say very few come back from holding up Vince? Because the two biggest examples two of the three most famous examples do come back. The Ultimate Warrior came back, and Jeff Jarrett has done come back. So never mind what I was about
and Ultimate Warrior was another holding him up live on TV thing too, wasn't he?
He was. He threatened to not wrestle the SummerSlam 1991 main event. And because he felt he wasn't being appropriately paid Hulk Hogan money. And so Vince is like, okay, sure, pal, you can have what you want. Go wrestle the match. Warrior wrestled the match. He came right back. He's like, you're fucking fired.
Yep.
Get out.
Oh, God.
That is like one of the biggest cardinal sins that you could do against Vince McMahon is hold up his show.
I feel like Dario Cueto could learn a lesson or two from Vince.
Possibly. So he sees Jeff Jarrett. He's like, oh, Jeff Jarrett spells his name. Well, he can spell it differently now. I believe I wrote this right.
I think
G-O-O-E-E, gone.
Yes, so
Goonie.
Goonie is Jeff Jarrett's new name, and it's pronounced gone.
Yes.
What?
Then we get the goods, the drugs, oh, that's a different run. Toss it in your eye. That's the right one. Sorry. They all bleed together in my mind.
I wonder why. I'm already sensing a pattern.
We get the show proper. Heyman and JR are here, and Heyman is going off.
He's Heymaning all over the place, man.
He opens with, "The war is finally over, and Vince McMahon is the victor. Tonight is his victory celebration."
And JR's like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Please shut up, Paul.
You know, Paul, I really don't like this. Please stop this."
So we open the show with Kurt Angle coming out to do a promo.
Yeah, and the TLDR is that he's very salty about having a Mania match, to which my response was, he's a bad guy, and he's in good with, like, the top bad guys who run the company. Why hasn't Regal just hooked him up?
That's a good question. Because Kurt says it's amazing how everyone is giddy about the big news. And he admits it's pretty shocking. And that big news is that your Olympic hero doesn't have a match, an opponent for WrestleMania. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, fuck you.
Hardy har hard. Do you get it? It's a subversion because you think he would be talking about the WCW thing.
Yeah.
And Kurt Angle is furious, outraged. What kind of world is it where the gobbledygooker has a match at Mania, but he doesn't?
Yeah, okay, help me out here, buddy. Please. The gobbledygooker.
Let's start with the gobbledygooker, and then I'll talk about why he's at WrestleMania. So, in fall of 1990, WWF is doing a gimmick leading into Survivor Series where there's a big egg on the show, and they don't know when it's going to hatch, and they don't know what's going to come out of the egg, but we are building anticipation. And the egg on Survivor Series 1990, which is a reminder, airs on Thanksgiving. The egg hatches, and it is a man in a turkey suit.
What?
And he dances around with Mean Gene Okerlund, and he is called the Gobbledygooker.
What? Wait, why is Mean Gene here? Why is Mean Gene?
Because Mean Gene is the on-field reporter on the scene of this fucking egg.
And Mean Gene consented to the Turkey Man dancing with him.
Yes. Because
Why?
Mean Gene was always up for anything.
I mean, I guess Mean Gene always struck me as a classy guy, but okay.
It's a bit of a, if you want to make fun of the golden age of WWE, the Gobbledygooker is a good place to start. It's big old stupid, we got to appeal to the kids crap.
Okay.
I don't think anyone ever wrestled the Gobbledygooker. Thank fuck.
Yeah. Then wait, what was the point?
I think they just wanted him as a mascot character. I don't know if they wanted him to wrestle.
Yes. The WWE's mascot, the Turkey Man.
I didn't say it was a good idea.
What? Wow, it's the 90s.
I have in fact implied it was not a good idea.
That's a shocker. I for one am surprised that the Gobbledygooker did not make great returns on investment.
Right. So at WrestleMania 17, I guess they already announced this, is the gimmick Battle Royal, which was basically how many old farts from the mid to like the 80s and early 90s can still theoretically wrestle a match and isn't in WCW.
Dude, Sheik was here. Sheik was on the card.
Fun fact, he wins the gimmick Battle Royal because he is physically incapable of taking the bump needed to be eliminated from a Battle Royal.
What the fuck?
His back is so fucked that he couldn't possibly bump to just get thrown out of the ring, so Sheik just wins. That's
sick. Dude, I love Sheik so fucking
So yeah, right now, scheduled for WrestleMania 17 is just an assortment of 80s goofball gimmick characters for nostalgia popping.
Hey,
hell, they even bring in Bobby Heenan to do commentary with Mean Gene on this match in particular. WrestleMania.
No way, dude. Dude, that's so sick.
It is. It's a fun match. But
that sounds legitimately great.
So back at Raw here, Kurt's mad that the gobbledygooker has a match and he doesn't. And
Kurt said, fuck this turkey man and fuck his mascot status. That should have been me coming out of that egg.
He wishes.
He's like that egg spot was a good spot. It should have been your Olympic hero.
Absolutely.
Should have been hatching from that.
So he basically says the only thing that keeps him going, he consoles himself with, is that he knows that he is the best wrestler in the world, and he is the only gold medalist in WWF history. So he's like, I guess I can live with that. But he will continue protesting.
Someone else in WWE history who won like a really obscure gold medal for something super fucking random and just be like, hey, fuck you.
That'd be hilarious, but I don't think there are any other gold medalists.
I'm sure there's a gold. It doesn't have to be an Olympic gold medal, but a gold medal for something at some point in their lives.
True. He says he will continue protesting and complaining until the WWF finds an opponent for him. And oh no, out comes Chris Benoit with a live microphone.
Yeah, good old Benny Ben is stepping up to the plate.
This is truly my second biggest nightmare about Chris Benoit. A live promo.
Coming out with a live mic. Oh no. Oh, he's gonna talk.
Yeah, so Benoit says he's got good news and he's got bad news. The good news is that he doesn't have an opponent at WrestleMania just like Kurt. And the bad news is he does not have an opponent at WrestleMania just like Kurt.
Oh wow, I wonder. And he said, and he goes up to Kurt and he says, "That's right, I'm here to challenge the gobbledygooker."
Benoit, that would have been a hell of a swerve. He's like, "I'm gonna fight the gobbledygooker."
That would have been amazing. And you know, I still would have fucking hated Benoit, but he would have gained a tiny bit of respect from me from doing that.
I want to fight Tugboat.
I want to go tag team with the Iron Sheik against that jabroni Hulk Hogan.
Absolutely. Make him humble. Chris Benoit says he's had to listen to Kurt Angle whine and complain and bitch and moan for a week, and it annoys him. But what annoys him more is that Kurt claims that he's the best wrestler in the WWF. And Benoit assures Kurt that if he gave him a little bit of his time, he'd make Kurt tap like the bitch that he is.
Ah!
And Kurt is like, oh yeah, huh? Oh yeah, you would? Well, he's tired of carrying Benoit, and he has bad news and worse news. The bad news is he accepts the challenge. And the worst news is he will never tap to that stupid crossface thing. He is, of course, referring to Benoit's move, the crippler crossface.
Now, Kurt Angle is employing a sound strategy here, where as the numbers prove, when you add Kurt Angle to the mix, your chances of winning drastic go down. So really, Benoit's doing himself here.
Oh, but you see, normally in a one-on-one match, you do have a 50-50 chance of winning, of course.
Indeed.
But I think we need to consider that Benoit is not normal.
True! This is true. Many people are saying this.
Right. So Kurt says that he could make Benoit squeal, and if he thinks otherwise, prove it. They start brawling. They try to get each other in. Angle Goat tries to put Benoit in the ankle lock, but Benoit turns it around on him, gets him in the crossface, and of course, Kurt Angle taps out.
Starts tapping. Even though there's no ref there to release him, he's like, mommy.
Please let me out.
Shout out to, like, when they're rolling, they were, like, throwing some fists, and I gotta say, that was, like, one of the better fist spot I've seen in all of wrestling. Like, it kind of looked like they were just, like, legitimately decking each other, and, like, the way Kurt Angle kind of, like, recoils back into the ring ropes, it was a really solid sell. I gotta give him that.
Yeah, they can work some punches now.
Damn. Who knows if that was work? Maybe they were just fucking punching each other. I wouldn't be surprised.
It It's Chris Benoit. They could have been throwing
Chris Benoit. He is not normal. But yeah.
So Edge and Christian come out to kick Benoit's ass.
Wait, before we get to the Edge and Christian thing showing up, on commentary, something I noticed was JR goes, sounds like Benoit is calling an angle, and Heyman replies with, "That's not what it sounds like. It's actually happening." And already I can see why JR fucking hates him because goddamn Heyman is over here just making commentary out of actually.
Yeah, he is always
the most asinine shit too. Like what?
Heyman,
why the fuck
Heyman always has to get the last word.
Like, no, it
and
doesn't
be
sound
right.
like it actually is. That is meaningless. That is Heyman. That is nothing. That's nothing, Heyman. That's nothing.
Like Heyman heard you're supposed to be an annoying heel commentator, and he's like, "Got it. I know what to do here."
Yeah, no, he's like, you know what Heyman was like? He's like, well, it's fortunate for me because I'm already annoying. I'm already an annoying piece of shit.
I'll just be me.
Pretty much, yeah. And JR's like, well, would you please stop that? And Heyman's like, oh, I have to do the bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Edge and Christian come out. Yeah, they put the boots to Benoit and get Kurt out of there because they have a pre-established friendship. So that is where that ends off. And we cut back to Trish Stratus now sitting on the couch with Vince. Mm-hmm. They are watching Nitro. Apparently, I guess he turned off the WWF feed. It doesn't look like he's watching two TVs now. And Vince
he's just tuned in to WCW. He's like, this fucking show, I hate it so much. Continues to like
Vince, like that one fan in December of 2001, would rather be watching Nitro.
Vince would rather be that. Get that shit on a shirt. I'd rather be watching Nitro. Vince McMahon 2001.
Like I said, I have had the very amusing thought before of Vince, now that he's retired, actually getting a chance to watch WCW and being like, well, holy shit, WCW was good. I trash talked them all these years. I told my whole fans for years they sucked.
Bold of you to assume that Vince is principled enough to ever admit that, even to himself.
That's
bold
fair,
of you to assume.
But it is a fun visual idea.
Vince would be sitting there watching like the fucking the best of like the early NWO stuff, and he just is sitting there like, this is so stupid, this is trash, why are they even doing this, why are tears falling down my face, and why do I feel a deep sense of empty disappointment in myself.
So Trish and Vince are sitting backstage. Vince gets on the phone to just shit talk Nitro to Stephanie. But we learned that Stephanie and Triple H are on a vacation. So they are not here.
Too, which,
okay. Stephanie is not here. Hunter is not here.
Triple H is not. I love how he calls him Triple H on the phone too. He's like, you and Triple H go back to having a great vacation. Like,
make sure that we, the fans, know who he's talking about.
Yeah. If he says Paul, the fans are going to be like, who? But if he says Triple H is on vacation, the fans are going to go, ah!
Oh, he means Triple H. Okay. And Vince reiterates the announced tag main event of Steve Austin and The Rock versus Kane and Undertaker. That was already announced earlier in the show. And I wrote, Trish feeds Vince a strawberry. Great.
Oh, not just any strawberry. There's strawberries that are like smothered in like precariously spiraled whipped cream. That like, despite how precarious that whipped cream looked on them, managed to stay on pretty solidly. I was kind of impressed with whoever was doing the catering work that night, but man, is it still disgusting.
Yep. So we cut now to outside of Stone Cold Steve Austin's locker room, and Deborah comes out of the locker room, and Michael Cole tries to ask her a question about Stone Cold's demeanor, but she doesn't want to talk about it right now. Not a good time.
She's like, oh man, do I have to talk about that piece of shit again?
Her entire way of portraying I am conflicted about Steve Austin and The Rock is I don't want to talk about it.
So what I'm hearing is that Deborah Austin would have been a great cast member in The Room, where literally every time they need to move on to the characters are feeling conflicted about anything, the answer is I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tommy Wiseau was taking notes.
So after that, we get the first, well, I guess I'll call it a match. There are officially 6 matches on this show. But the first match it's Taz. And
Taz is here! Yeah, okay. This was an experience. Because Taz comes out, and Taz's entrance music has like hospital.
It starts with it starts with a heart rate monitor.
And then the RTC comes out, and they're just their music is noise. It's just noise. Like they're on some weird art house shit where like someone makes a bunch of really obnoxious sounds. They're like, this is music, and if you don't get it, then you're a troglodyte who doesn't understand culture.
The entire RTC's music is literally just loud blaring sirens because they're like, nobody wants to hear this, so boo them.
Pretty much, yeah. I get the joke is like, oh, it's noises that are loud enough to censor other people, but like,
but it is Taz and Val Venus in a, I think, lumberjack match, and the lumberjacks.
Is that what it is?
They kept talking about the APA as lumberjacks, so I think that's what it was. It's a lumberjack match where the lumberjacks are all wrestlers who are friends with the 2 wrestlers in the ring, because it's the rest of the RTC, and then then the APA and Jacqueline come out to help.
Dude, the fucking
Taz.
APA, it's so wild seeing like old JBL with the APA after seeing him in his dumb fucking Reaganite shtick, because
now this is back when he made his whole gimmick. I'm gonna sit backstage, drink, play poker, and whoop people's asses, and everyone is gonna love it.
You know, replace that poker with euchre, and actually joining the APA doesn't sound like that bad a deal with me.
No, they're pretty cool. They just show up and kick people's asses. The end. Who needs anything more complicated?
Pretty much. We love our fighting mercenaries and our fighting companies, okay? That's a formula that will never get old.
Yeah. So almost immediately, like I think Val Venus does one move to Taz that puts him into the ropes so that Goodfather can hit Taz in the face. But then Taz immediately just locks in the Taz mission, or the by its proper name, the Kata Hajime.
I'm still not over the Goodfather.
And then immediately, all of the guys start running in and brawling with each other.
Pretty much, yeah. That's why I got confused, because it just gets out of control immediately, and then it's done, and then it's just done.
And then it ends up where Taz is down and Val Venus goes to the top rope, but he misses the money shot, which I thought it was very amusing that despite his gimmick change here, his finisher is still called the money shot.
Well, yeah.
This is real. This is real. This is very John Cena still does the 5-knuckle shuffle energy.
Not having to change his name was hard enough. Having to change the name of his finisher would just be way too much. You had to leave both that shit untouched, okay? Val Venus. I kind of
want to believe in kayfabe Stevie Richards doesn't know what a money shot is, so he didn't question it. He understands that.
Val Venus is the world's biggest virgin.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He knows that Val Venus does porn, and that's bad, but he doesn't know porn terms.
Steve Richards backstage porn is bad, okay? Don't actually be in porn, okay? Okay, it's bad, okay?
So Val misses the money shot, and then Taz hits him with a Northern Lights bridging suplex, and that's it. Fuck you. That's the whole match.
Yeah, no. So the RTC here are, first of all, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because they're still wrestlers. But when you described RTC to me, I imagine them being like a lot lankier and a lot more like looking like legit pencil neck geeks. These look like a bunch of Mormons who like got super bored on their mission trip and got like insanely jacked, and then thought it would be cool if they like ripped all their sleeves off their shirts. Like these guys are just these are not like okay. I was gonna say these are not like PTA parents because like what the fuck, but then I remembered the type of dad who makes his whole personality out of like being vaguely ripped, owning a gun, and being extremely weirdly possessive of his daughter, and I'm like, actually no, this tracks perfectly. These are definitely these could definitely be PTA parents who are just like heads so far up their own asses that they think they're like the coolest motherfuckers in the universe. Yeah. Despite the fact they're getting squashed by Taz in all 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was a match, I guess.
I suppose it was a match. It was nominally a match.
Whenever you feel like
I'm sure it's only going up. It's only going up from here.
I have a thing to say about the matches, but I'll say that for whenever you feel like ranting about the matches here on this show. But we cut back to Vince watching Nitro again with Trish, and this time Regal is here as well because he has a match to get ready for later, and they just continued to shit talking some WCW wrestlers. Okay,
I fucking love Regal.
And then Regal leaves, and Vince starts like sensually rubbing Trish's arm. Like, great.
Yes. Oh, also, sidebar, I mentioned this to you. Is it just me, or does young Regal look a little bit like MJF? Like, there's something about him that feels MJF-y. I don't know.
I'm missing it. I'd have to
like. I don't know. Like the eyes are a little sunken in a similar way, and the heads are. I don't know. There's something about him. Maybe it's just that I've watched like the Regal MJF promo recently now, and I'm like I'm feeling a connection between the two. But like there's something there to me. Anyway, but yeah. So also before you get too fucking farther into the actual content of the show, XFL. Woo!
I absolutely wrote this down to make sure is an XFL commercial. Okay, so time for some backstory on the XFL because I guarantee I've never mentioned it before.
XFL.
It is very much a spring of 2001 thing only. So
because it was just that successful,
right? So the XFL was WWE feeling Vince McMahon wanting to expand beyond wrestling because I have talked about it before. That Vince tried so fucking hard to be successful at something, anything besides professional wrestling.
It's so funny to me how Vincent K. McMahon, like, seems to have a passing contempt for the very thing upon which he built his empire. Like, he always seems vaguely discontent with his position. It's so funny.
I don't love psycho and too much psychoanalysis here, but it absolutely feels like Vince wants to be mainstream famous, and he's never going to get the respect he feels he deserves in wrestling.
Oh, Vince very clearly, look, I try not to armchair, but fuck Vince, he deserves this. Vince very clearly wanted to be a WWF wrestler, and then
he did actually. That is 100% factual. His dad refused to let him.
I was pretty sure that was legit. And then there's like, especially after probably seeing like some of his stars who got more mainstream appeal, especially Hogan, like he then sees that and like almost, I have no doubt, like kind of resented that he couldn't have been the guy that was a giant like WWF wrestler and catapulted into the mainstream. And so like, that's why everything is the way it is. Like, he wanted That's why he like made the McMahon family drama front and center of the WWF at every possible moment he could. That's why he put his dumb fucking face all over everywhere and tried to do dumb spin-offs like the goddamn Tuesday Night Titans talk show. Like, this is a man who's so clearly like enjoys the money that he has, but hates is still to this day mad that daddy didn't let him get his money in the way he wanted to. So is just, now that he has the money, he's doing everything he possibly can to realize his dreams that he feels slipping away from him more and more with each passing second. And it is extremely funny how spectacularly everything outside the WWF has failed, and how the WWF for a lot of its life has just managed to succeed in spite of itself and in spite of Vincent K. motherfucking McMahon.
And so the XFL is probably his most shiniest of failures. So basically, he dumped a shitload of money. It was a 50-50 co-ownership deal with the NBC itself to create a spring football league. It's something that pops up in America every once in a while. It's in the last few years, we have seen like 3 happen. We have seen in the last 5 years, we have seen the American Alliance for Football, the revival of the XFL, and the revival of the USFL.
Yeah, I know. The USFL, I remember seeing some of my roommates watching some inaugural games early in the year, and I'm like, man, this is kind of wild.
I can't comment on the USFL. I didn't watch any of it. I watched the AAF and I watched the XFL 2.0. But basically XFL 1.0, there's always been this idea that the NFL makes shitloads of money. What if we did football in the spring where there is no NFL? People who wants more football? And
year-round football, just like we have year-round wrestling. There's nothing wrong with this formula.
Yeah. And so the XFL, let's start with problem number 1 with the XFL. It tied its wagon. Vince McMahon did his usual Vince McMahoning of the situation. And by that I mean, he hitched his wagon to the idea of fuck the NFL. It's boring. It has too many rules and too many regulations. It's the no fun league. We are bringing fun back to football, baby.
Number 1, active contempt for pop culture outside of the thing that you own.
And the reason this is a mistake, obviously, is you know what the biggest demographic of people is who would be interested in watching spring football? People who watch the NFL.
Yup. Interesting. Vince is like, I'm going to create an alternative market and bank off shitting on the thing that everyone that is going to watch me is a fan of.
And he would do this in 2.0 too, because when he announced the XFL 2.0, he didn't have a lot of the basic details down already, but he made sure that there would be no kneeling at the national anthem. He wanted to make sure that you knew about that. He tied that in right in immediately.
What a piece of shit.
Anyway, back to XFL 1.0, the much more fun failure. XFL 2.0 basically only died because the pandemic happened. That's much less fun. XFL 1 is much funnier.
And now The Rock owns it.
Yeah. So XFL 3 coming to you soon. But XFL 1, basically, Vince was his usual, he played his wrestling character like he always does in a world where that just makes you look like a stupid lunatic. Not a lovable heel character.
Okay, well, even lovable in WWF is putting it quite charitably.
But then we actually get to the games, and we hit problem number 2. And this is the real problem.
Uh-huh.
The football was bad.
Oh?
From a combination of they only had a couple of months to put teams together. which is a very small period of time for training, and especially for teams who have never played together before. And just because we're dealing with a lower level of football talent, we're talking about people who can't make it in the NFL right now.
Yes, yeah.
The football game sucked. And you could probably get away with a lot of bullshit if the football games didn't suck.
If the football game... Yeah, and you know, Austin, I'm going to have a wild guess that Vince's fuck the rules theory to making entertainment football also contributed to why these games sucked.
Of course, they were leaning into much more lenient rule ideas. They wanted to bring back the violent hits and highlight real moves that everyone loves about pro football, and it all aged poorly because now we understand how brain damage works. Hell, they got rid of. Let me tell you how they did. They got rid of the kickoff, which is already one of the most dangerous plays in football, by the way. They got rid of it and made it more dangerous, where what they did is they put a football in the middle of the field and had two players run to the middle of the field and dive at each other for it. And the guy who came up with the football wins the football toss.
What?
The very first time they ever did this, somebody got hurt doing it.
Really? Wow, no way.
So,
is there a problem?
We've now established why it fucked up, and we're not even getting to the good shit yet, I think, because basically the ratings tanked out the ass because a bunch of people tuned in because they were intrigued. Then they realized it was bad, and
and goodbye.
And then, so now WWF is not only begging people to watch the XFL on their own TVs. Oh no! Now they are WWE-ifying the XFL broadcasts. Just a few weeks prior, they had a storyline where Jesse Ventura, who was doing football commentary, by the way, he is the governor of Minnesota during this period of time, and he is still making time to go do fucking XFL football commentary.
Oh, no. Not Jesse. Oh, Christ. I'm sure that was very hinged and very not awful.
No, Jesse plays a heel commentator and tries to do a feud with a football coach, one of the football coaches. And that is the thing they sell the show on, one of the games on, is like, what's the epic rivalry? The heated rivalry between Rusty Tillman and Jesse Ventura.
Were they hearing themselves? Were they paying attention to the thing that they put on TV? Or were they just getting blasted on coke, saying words into a microphone and being like, yep, that's a finished product?
And then after that, they did a promotional stunt where they announced that at halftime of an XFL game, they are going to go backstage into the cheerleaders' locker room. And then, of course, they swerved it, and it was a dream sequence, and they just did random LOL bullshit. There was absolutely no TNA involved.
It was a dream sequence.
They dream sequenced it. The camera guys trying to what they do is they have a skit, like a backstage Raw skit, basically live at a football game of Vince hyping up the cameraman to be like, yeah, you go in there, you get that footage, and the cameraman tries to run to the locker room and it hits his knocks the camera into the door and it bounces back and knocks him out. And then the rest of the sequence, it's a dream sequence. And then he wakes up. And that's it.
Cameraman's dream?
Yes.
What?
All this to say the XFL would have exactly one season. And that was it.
Oh, my God. Okay.
The football, as I understand it, got marginally better as time went on, which would make sense.
Yeah,
they have more time
works.
to practice with each other. But, by that point, nobody's watching because they've already watched bad. They're like, this is bad football. Fuck this. And then even if the people who stuck around through bad football were alienated by wrestling skits.
WWE tier skits during football. Because that's definitely the thing people tune into football for.
Now, I will give the XFL its flowers on one thing.
Okay.
The WWE brought a lot of its idea of pomp and circumstance of the productions and dynamic camera shooting, shots and stuff to the XFL, and that was that was recognized this is a good idea. The NFL started adapting the kind of camera techniques the XFL was using. In addition, obviously it's kind of a regular beat in football now of during at the beginning of games and at halftime and after halftime and at the end of the game, the sideline reporters run over and do a live interview with a coach for a couple of minutes. Yeah. The XFL was big into putting the microphone in front of coaches and players mid-game to get their feelings on it. And the NFL also copied the XFL on that.
Wait, so the NFL is now running with techniques that they ate from the XFL?
Yeah, they acknowledged the XFL had a couple of good ideas, so we'll just take them.
What is the reality that we live in? Vince actually stumbled into pioneering what are now staples of football, football TV. What the fuck? It is otherwise extremely shitty football league.
Yeah. He also famously was we want to let our players show their personality so they can customize the back of their jersey so it doesn't just say their name, right? Okay. Probably the most well-known example of someone who did this is He Hate Me. He had that on the back of his jersey, and the idea is that he in this sentence are the people who don't believe in who try to hold him back and don't believe in him and stuff.
Okay.
And his haters, he's going to prove wrong. He hate me. And he was actually an entertaining player, and he was pretty good. And he had the cool, unique name. So he's probably the most famous XFL player that anyone knows of. Is He Hate Me?
Damn. I mean, look, every once in a while Vince gives people keys to the kingdom, and every once in a while people manage to get over with his stupid bullshit. So yeah, that's about on par.
So yeah, that is our little sidebar into the XFL history. Just felt that was worth bringing up. Now I don't get many chances to talk about the XFL here. It's a very short-lived thing.
I am not remotely surprised that you had a whole deep dive into the history of XFL 1.0 ready to go to explain this to our audience, because you having random deep dives into random bullshit like this is exactly how this show got started. And see, here's the thing, audience. Austin gave this beautiful, florid rundown just now of the history and shortcomings of XFL 1.0. For me, all I saw, everything Austin just said makes total sense to me, because I saw this XFL ad, and it was just advertised like fucking sports entertainment. So everything you said makes a zillion% sense. You could tell just from the advertising that Vince was trying to run this shit like a slightly more shooty-shoot version of fucking WWE, except with football.
Right. And that doesn't work, because football is entirely different than fake wrestling.
Really, you don't say. Hey,
it lost a shitload of money. It strained WWE's relationship with NBC. Obviously, that gets patched up. But everybody lost a lot of money on the XFL, and we're like, well, never mind. We're never doing it again.
Excuse you, Austin. As someone who is attempting to establish an indie hot dog eating promotion with the aesthetics of pro wrestling, I can tell you that the aesthetics of pro wrestling track perfectly onto anything. You don't need to put any thought into it whatsoever. If you put the aesthetics of pro wrestling on something, that's a guaranteed success right there. I know personally.
That's fair. All right, so after this, we get a classic WrestleMania moment. They've been doing these for weeks. Just hype up Mania as you do. But they do the classic bit, and so classic that nobody really remembers this specific bit from Check's notes. The prior year's WrestleMania.
Oh, no.
Where Kane choke slams Pete Rose because Kane has an ongoing feud with Pete Rose. I think I've mentioned it before, but every time they go do a show and Pete Rose is on, Pete Rose heals on the crowd, and then Kane comes out and beats him up. Yada yada yada. It's fun.
Everyone loves it.
And so they choke slam Pete Rose, and then Rikishi gives Pete Rose the stink face.
Oh wow! So this is Rikishi pre-dumb fuck heel turn.
It's post.
But he will still do ass shots on people.
Oh no, I'm sorry. 2000 WrestleMania 2000 is pre-heel turn. Sorry.
I was gonna say.
I was thinking of when this episode airs, which is post.
I was gonna say
post
turning Rikishi mega heel to try to make him a legitimate main event bad guy, and then still having him do ass spots against other heels feels like it would defeat the purpose.
You see, you say that, but they did this Pete Rose gets beat up by Kane bit during Kane's very first WrestleMania, where he is the heel fighting his own brother, The Undertaker, who he's been trying to murder. And they still find time for him to beat up Pete Rose in a comedy bit.
Who's Pete Rose again?
Famous Reds baseball player. Probably one of the greatest Reds baseball players of all time. He's also most famous for being forever banned from the Baseball Hall of Fame because when he was a manager, he was caught betting on Reds games.
Is that why he's a heel?
Yes.
And of course, Vince is in bed with him anyway, because of course Vince doesn't give a shit.
I honestly don't give a shit. Put Pete Rose in the Hall. He wasn't betting on his team to lose.
Who cares?
So put him in there.
Who cares if he was pro? I mean, to be fair, that actually doesn't sound too awful if he wasn't fixing the matches, fixing the game.
No, he wasn't betting in such a way that he would theoretically be. I don't think he was really betting in a way that could be considered fixing the games to screw the Reds to win. He was betting on his own team to win.
He's just showing patriotism for his own team. I see nothing wrong with this. Put Pete Rose in the Hall.
All right. So coming back from the break, we get Doink the Clown hanging out in the crowd to hype the gimmick battle royal, which Paul Heyman clearly hates with every fiber of his being.
Heyman is big mad about this shit, dude.
He wants serious wrestling only. As the former owner of ECW, serious business wrestling only, sir.
Yeah, Heyman's salty about the goofy gimmicks because clearly nothing about his edgelord ass has ever changed.
Yes. So match 2, William Regal comes out and gets a microphone and says he has a very important thing to say about W.C. Fields. I don't know who that is, but obviously the joke is
I've heard the name. It's probably some motherfucker.
Probably a philosopher given what he just said.
American comedian?
Not what I would have expected.
Fields was an American comedian, actor, juggler, and writer. Talented man.
All right. Okay. Well, William Regal says W.C. Fields once said there is no cure for insomnia but sleep, and he will not sleep until he defeats Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. Now, Mr. Regal, I don't think it's a very good idea. Trying to wrestle a match after not sleeping for a week sounds like a bad idea. I think you should sleep.
Regal's over here in a practically zombie state, being I need to rest, so this is the only thing for me. Oh, brains, I need to rest. And everyone's like, dude, Regal, are you okay? No, it's fine, I just need to rest.
So Regal announces tonight he will fight someone in a warm-up match from a very prestigious wrestling family, the Hollies. And it's I guess. I mean, it feels like there's supposed to be a swerve to it, but also I don't care. Like, who would I think he's gonna say?
But the Hollies, they're
at
prestigious.
This point, we got the whole family. We got Bob Holly, Crash Holly, and Molly Holly.
Wait. Oh my god. I am an intelligent human being. Of course, Molly Holly is Bob Holly's daughter. Oh.
I believe it's cousin, actually.
Wait, I thought Bob Holly was like a Golden Age guy.
He looks like he's ancient, but he is actually only he's only 59 as of today.
Oh, well then never mind.
He looks
So
ancient,
why are they so prestigious, Austin?
Because I guess they exist in the WWF. They're all
and
here
they're
right
family.
now. So.
And
there you go.
gotta call
okay.
all families. Wrestling has more than one royal family. Enter the Hollies.
All right. So Crash and Molly come out, and Crash is like, "Hey, I don't appreciate being called a stepping stone for you." And William Regal, when Holly turns around, cheap shots him and grabs Molly, which the implication is that Regal was talking about Molly Holly, not Crash Holly.
Yeah.
And JR is like, "How dare him? What kind of a sick monster is William Regal?"
He's a classic dastardly villain, JR. Actually, there's a whole thing about this, very definitional.
So Regal puts Molly Holly in a submission. Crash saves Molly, and then Regal puts him in the submission. And it is broke, and this is basically the match.
Yeah, match number 2, and it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yes. The match, after the match, Doink the Clown comes down and starts whooping Regal's ass.
For some reason.
And Doink then puts Regal in the walls of Jericho. Actually, I believe this is specifically the Lion Tamer. So he has Regal in the Lion Tamer for a while, and then Regal runs away, and then the wig comes off, and it is revealed to be Chris Jericho was in the disguise the whole time.
It was me, Regal.
This is mind games.
Yeah.
I told David this story, and I'm going to bring it up now because this is literally what this is about. Is famously, the story goes that on this episode of Raw, Shawn Michaels was backstage, and this was when he was at his most coked out of his mind. As he is backstage and he sees Jericho in the Doink outfit, obvious, and he thinks that Jericho has been permanently turned into Doink the Clown. And he's like, "I can't believe they made you Doink, man."
Dude, I guarantee you in that moment, Shawn Michaels was getting flashes of reality where he was forced to put on Doink face. And he's like, "Oh, I don't ever want to be Doink. They got my boy, Chris. What if I'm next? No.
What if I'm the next Doink?"
We are all Doink. Deep down, each one of us is. And then he'd like
Sean,
please
go take a nap.
No, they're gonna get. If I close my eyes, I'm gonna wake up with Doink makeup on. Sean, please, no.
Right. So after all that, backstage, Vince is still watching WCW, and he was like, "That was pretty embarrassing for William Regal." And speaking of embarrassing, Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
He then on Nitro right now.
Yeah, he proceeds to get very horny thinking about the implants that Dustin Rhodes apparently legitimately wanted to get for the Goldust character.
Right, okay. So he is telling Trish stories about Goldust, and he's like, "Did you know that one time he genuinely wanted to get implants? That kind of sick freak Goldust was." And this is very true, by the way. Dustin Rhodes, because to really sell the androgyny of Goldust as a character, he offered to get implants. And Vince was like, no, you're good.
Dustin Rhodes, one of my faves of all time. That man confuses me to no end because on one hand, he seems so like bashful about like the fact that he was like Goldust and that he did all this dumb shit, all this dumb gimmick shit early in his career, and now is enjoying just getting to be like straight up himself, just kind of having a late career mini renaissance as he like sunsets. But then he also like wanted to lean into the Goldust persona that hard that clearly he enjoyed it and was willing to give his all to it. So like, what?
And so as Vince tells this story, he turns into a flirtation thing because he's talking about the boobs Goldust would have had, and he's talking about Trish's boobs.
Well, yes, but it's much funnier to say that he got horny thinking about Dustin's potential implants.
Right. All right. So backstage, Jonathan Coachman is with William Regal, and William Regal has nothing important to say except that Chris Jericho has a match tonight with the Big Show. So
and it's a non-title match because Regal wants a piece of that belt.
Regal wants the belt for himself, so it's non-title, but you got a match with Big Show tonight. Fuck you.
God, I love it when Regal calls people Sunshine. He's like, "Now you listen here, Sunshine." I don't know.
Sunshine.
I just love when he calls people Sunshine.
It's great. Then we cut backstage to Kurt in his locker room with Edge and Christian. And Christian tells him that tonight they're going to have a 6-man tag with Chris Benoit and the Hardy Boys. And Kurt Angle wants to make sure that they know he did not tap. He was reaching for the ropes, okay? He didn't tap. He's never tapped in his life.
Oh, yeah, dude. Kurt Angle is too much of a man to ever tap, especially to Chris Benoit's stupid fucking crossface. Oh shit, I need a refill on copium here.
Yeah, pretty much. He is huffing the copium so hard.
Insanely hard. Again, self-parody levels.
Edge and Christian decide to introduce Kurt Angle to their other new friend, Rhino. And Rhino is like, hey, I go way back with these guys, Kurt. I got your back, brother. I will die for you.
Angel's like, whoa, that's a lot of commitment. We just met each other.
Whoa, man.
Okay,
he literally makes
a few random sidebars here.
He makes a literal reference to his 3 eyes: intelligence, intensity, and integrity. He's like, I'm not seeing a lot of intelligence or integrity, but he's got intensity.
Fun fact, that's also the way you can describe most of this roster. So a few sidebars I need to make. First of all, on a somewhat related note, the way Rhino's entrance was treated here. So you had said that Rhino was introduced several weeks back already, but like,
yeah.
Why are they running this promo right now with this sort of sense that like, because like the way they bring Rhino in feels like that's a debut moment for him. Like, oh yeah, we have a friend who's totally gonna help you out and we love and is so gonna like be there for you. And Edge is like, Christian, go get you know who. And it feels like a debut moment for him, but he already debuted, so why are we doing it just like a second kind of debut for him? What?
I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Second of all, man, long hair Christian is a wild sight to see. Third of all, I've never really noticed until this episode, goddamn Edge has the jawline of a crescent moon.
Yeah, like, I see that.
It like slopes outward. Like that man could play like a live action version of the Crimson Chin unironically. Like what the fuck?
Man, the boat. Talk about a missed boat on that one.
Dude, I don't know what, like Edge's jaw just needs to like have a starring role in something. That shit's just on another plane of existence.
Yeah. So, we get a Road to WrestleMania video for The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, set to, of course, Limp Bizkit's My Way. This time I'm gonna let it all come out. This time I'm gonna stand up and shout. I'm gonna do things my way. It's my way. My way of the highway.
Yeah, okay. I can't lie. I've never been more into Limp Bizkit than I am watching these fucking WrestleMania 17 promos. It's
same.
I hate that I admitted this. Once we're done recording, I'm gonna throw up and then spend 2 hours flogging myself for saying that. Mm-hmm. However, I hate
to say this very controversial opinion in the wrestling community, but I don't like Limp Bizkit at all. And I don't know how much respect I have for Limp Bizkit fans, but I'll tell you this. Hell of a hype video with Rock and Austin with Limp Bizkit here.
And a hell of a theme song for WrestleMania 17.
Yeah. So we basically get a recap from last Thursday, which you see a lot more of the antagonistic side of Heyman and JR as JR tries to like intro this, talking about how he asked Stone Cold about tagging with The Rock, and Paul Heyman immediately jumps in and be like, yeah, that was a stupid question, wasn't it? I mean, you almost got your hat knocked off, didn't you?
Yeah, I know.
Look, run the clip.
Immediately interrupts, and JR is just like, I was trying to say something here.
Mm-hmm.
Poor JR, man.
So we get a lot of the recap of the last Thursday sit-down promo that I already talked about in the front half. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it now that you've actually seen all the highlights of it.
Sorry, of what?
Of the sit-down interview they showed.
Oh.
I don't know if you had any thoughts because I already talked about it.
I mean, yeah, it was fine. It was a little bit different than what I kind of anticipated, but it was a fine interview. I didn't think it was the greatest sit-down interview I've ever seen, but it was solid. I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to beat you versus I need to beat you moment was a good moment. So yeah, I mean that's about all I got.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'll just mention Steve Austin really does look like he's barely holding back from just killing everyone.
A little bit,
and he doesn't usually have that kind of deadly intense, serious intensity to him.
No, but that said, he does always have the I have nothing but contempt for these people intensity to him. So it's just a natural progression, I think. Sure.
We got backstage with Coachman, with Deborah, who is now outside of the Rock's locker room, and she's like, what can you tell me about how the Rock's feeling tonight? And she's like, I don't want to talk about it. Great.
I don't want to talk about it. That great character,
you're doing,
Deborah. You're killing it up there, honey.
You add so much. I'm so glad Steve Austin was like, I want my wife to be part of the show. I'm glad. This was such a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know the time. I don't know the timeline. Maybe he hasn't happened yet.
Well, this is fair, but I don't know. There's a moment later where I might get a tiny bit into the armchair psychoanalyzing once more because I don't know. But anyway, okay. So and now we're back to Vince backstage again, being all Vincey about buying WCW.
Yeah,
and
he's having Trish help him put his jacket on because he's going to go address the fans in the ring. Mm-hmm. And he needs a little bit of luck. They're doing some flirty flirts. She kisses him. Great.
Man, this is such a weird, non-through line for this whole episode. It's just Vince randomly popping up to gloat, disconnected from anything else happening in the goddamn episode. It's nothing else is related. This is just Vince, sucking his own cock intermittently for 2 hours. What is this?
It's rough.
We're
about to peak with that, aren't we?
Yep.
We get an ad for WWF Access. Cool.
Sure, whatever.
And then as Vince is coming out, I made note of this because this is insane. More insane shit from Paul Heyman is he brings up the famous, quote about how Alexander the Great sat and wept for he had nowhere left to conquer. And he compares this to Vince McMahon having bought WCW and having won the war.
God. Paul Heyman being on Vince's side for this shit is even worse and makes me hate him even fucking more.
That feels so in character for Paul Heyman, in or out of kayfabe, to be honest.
It really does. It really does. And it's kind of funny to me that, like, he's all in on this, like, mere months before Vince is also gonna, like, fucking buy out ECW. Like, his shit's about...
It's gonna be a couple years of fighting around in court regarding...
Okay, well, either way, like...
But yeah.
His own baby's about to get swallowed by the Vince Meister, so, like, laugh it up while you can, sleazeball.
He got his. He don't give a fuck. He's not in the game. He's not in the game of being like, fuck WWE. We're the little ACW could. He's not in that game anymore.
WWE's giving me money, and all of a sudden I feel far less inclined to, like, make fun of them constantly. Funny that.
We should do the episode of Raw with the ECW invasion.
That'd be cute.
Fascinating. But so Vince stops and demands that Lillian Garcia give him another introduction for a man of his status, and it's like, then she just kind of repeats the intro. I thought that was weird.
Yeah. Vince waltzes down, and you hear the president and CEO of the World Wrestling Federation, Mr. McMahon, and then Vince is like, no, you do it again. And he, like, marches all the way back up the ramp, looks indignantly back, and she's just like, the president and CEO of the World Wrestling Federation, Mr. McMahon. And Vince is like, yes, that's better. And then
that's what I wanted.
It's like she sustained the words a tiny bit more, I guess.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, back on commentary,
a top tier cringe sign, by the way, here. This is when I noted Vince McMahon is a corporate god.
Oh, I have stuff about the signs in a hot second too. I didn't even write what the sign was, but I have a note about shit like that too. And then meanwhile, over on commentary, Paul Heyman's making ass kissing noises, and JR is, well, he might as well be anyway. And JR just responds with, "What are you looking for, right?"
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. And then Vince starts talking about, like, how this promo of his is simulcasting, but he's clearly, like, snorted a little too much, because he says first that that Raw is broadcasting on TNN, and then he's like, and then
which it was
TNN. There was a channel called
that
TNN.
was the channel they were. Yeah, that was the channel they were on.
Oh, okay. And then he's like, and WCW is broadcasting over on TNN. You know, the Turner Network, whatever the T stands for.
Shockingly, TNN has nothing to do with Turner. That is short for the Nashville Network.
Oh, well, funny that.
It was mostly a country music oriented cable TV channel, but for a while there, it had old WWE.
That's
for a short
random.
bit. Back when I think they were having disputes with USA about money, so they were like, "Fuck you, we're leaving." And then they went back to USA eventually.
Channel. Okay, what does TNT stand for? Turner
Network Television.
Turner Network Television. Yeah. And WCW's over on TNN, you know, Turner Network Television. That's actually what he says. Vince is clearly snorting a little too much backstage.
Yeah, it was neat though, because they cut, as he talks about the simulcast, they cut to Nitro.
Which is
so we
sick.
See what this looks like from the perspective of Nitro.
Yeah, that which is cool. And then Vince just starts doing revisionist history on live mic immediately.
Oh, but I got a whole lot of this shit written down. But okay, so he reiterates that he bought his competition, but it's not final, you see, because Time Warner just can't sell it to anyone else because nobody else knows what to do with it.
Yeah, that's the reason that WWF is buying them, and not the dumb petty bullshit they did in court.
And in fact, Time Warner is begging Vince to sign the contract. That was probably true. That part is probably correct.
They're like, fuck this show. Please, Vince.
Please get it away from us.
We hate this.
And Vince says that he will sign the contract. Because you see, what he's going to do is he is going to sign the contract at WrestleMania when Ted Turner walks down the aisle and hand delivers it to him. So Vince, in kayfabe, this isn't done yet. The deal is not done because Vince hasn't officially signed the contract. He is going to make Ted Turner personally watch as he signs his baby away.
Because of course he is. And of course, it's so funny to me that, like, the contract signing bullshit was like, it was such a thing that Vince is like, yeah, we're just gonna casually include this on WrestleMania, a contract signing segment. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's where I sign the contract to buy out my competition because of fucking course it is.
This is when Vince decides to start talking about. He goes, people ask me, how do you do it, Vince? Compete against a media conglomerate, a billionaire, which, yeah, I've almost certainly mentioned it on here before, but the Monday Night War was absolutely filled to the brim with WWE framing themselves as this, nice little mom and pop family owned wrestling company that was being fought against by the billionaire Ted Turner with his big media company.
I'm sorry, what?
Vince played the sad little victim underdog card all the time. Are you
kidding me? He's like, what wrestling needs is an outsider.
When WCW was in particular whooping Vince's ass, he took out full page ads in the Wall Street Journal.
Ah, yes. The thing that mom and pop shop owners are famous for being able
to tell people how Ted Turner is trying to destroy his business.
Uh-huh. Okay, I'm sure.
So that's what I have to say when people try now, because WWE has completely revisionist history this whole bit. All of this bullshit I just said there, they have wiped that clean. They are like, WCW played unfair, and we just got along because we just put out a gosh darn better wrestling product. We did not dare to do such mudslinging bullshit.
Okay.
And now we have an entire generation of wrestling fans who think that and shit talk Tony Khan and AEW when they take their shots, as they say things like Vince McMahon would never. Fuck you. Vince McMahon was the pettiest asshole in the history of wrestling.
Yeah, okay. This is where I gotta go on my little fucking tirade here. Because as I've made allusion to, I fucking hate the IWC. The IWC is full of, like, I'm sorry, absolute morons who just shit into their own hands and throw it at their computer screen and think it makes for, like, compelling commentary on the state of wrestling in 2022. And when we have Vincent K. McMahon actively doing revisionist history on, like, his relationship with the WCW as soon as he buys that shit up, and cringy ass signs in the crowd, because you pointed out one cringy sign in the crowd about, like, Vince's, like, a wrestling.
I had to write way too many notes to catch a lot of the signs.
But we cut to another sign that was like, it was basically like, yes, the XFL, the world, WCW, what's next for Vince? Like, just dick riding him so hard. And it's like, these are like Elon Musk fanboys, but for Vince McMahon. And they, like, the level of, first of all, the level of delusion on which you have to be operating in order to think that, like, things like the XFL in the world are going to be, like, smash hit successes for Vince is already.
They're already not!
Yeah, but then, like, the fact you have to throw in the venom there of, like, yes, God King Wrestling Daddy is just gonna start a monopoly, and I'm okay with that because I'm in a fucking cult of personality for Vincent goddamn McMahon. Oh my god, what a person to hitch your personality to.
Who needs social media? Vince can cultivate parasocial relationships all on his own.
True. Fucking true. And, like, all of a sudden, every single person who goes on, like, fucking wrestle meme pages on Facebook to post boomer ass memes about how every time AEW comes on, they, like, turn off the TV and thinking that, like, every single time that's the funniest, like, sickest burn they've ever done. Meanwhile, like, sucking off Triple H's cock for, like, just putting out a slightly better show than what Vince did, and being like, oh yeah, the goddamn spot monkey Young Bucks that started AEW. Who wants to watch cool stunts in a wrestling show? I'm here for matches that last a goddamn minute, end in some bullshit, and then Vince McMahon masturbating in the middle of the ring about how he's better than everybody else in his business. Like, this is where these people come from, Austin. This is where they were born. This is the culture of wrestling that they were.
It is because it is the last time WWE boomed was this period of time where I was going to talk about this during real matches, but I have always a lot of people and even people I would generally consider to be not stupid people in wrestling will cop to the Vince Russoism of the wrestling is the least important part. Character and story are more important. And it's that's fair,
not even
I suppose.
Character and story here, Austin. It's all fucking stupid.
Well, that was the sign of the times, wasn't it? But what I was getting at is that, I agree that character and story are important.
Exceedingly,
but
yes.
You don't have to not. You can't. You can have both. You don't have to be you know what? Fuck wrestling entirely. Matches, who cares? But there is this entire thought process about wrestling as a thing that comes from old heads being God damn, it's all about drawing money. You know what draws money? Stories. And so wrestling fans think they're smart because they can quote Jim Cornette. And
oh yeah, the thing that makes you extremely a top sign of intelligence is unironically quoting Jim fucking Cornette. Okay.
And because they grew up in this era where WWF said WWF has always kind of been the wrestling's not that important. WWF has never truly cared that much about the concept, the value of wrestling as an avenue for storytelling. WWE's attitude is always wrestling happens because that's the medium that we're doing it in, but the real story comes from anything else. The matches are just a thing you have to do because this is a wrestling show. But the attitude never in WWF has matches had been more, the concept of matches just being good was ever held in more contempt than was in the Attitude Era. They did not give a fuck. And because that was the last time wrestling has boomed, you have an entire generation of fans who think this is proof that yes, wrestling matches, who needs wrestling on wrestling? Clearly, nobody likes it. And it doesn't make money. Clearly, because the last time we all made money, there was no one gave a shit.
Then why are you a wrestling fan?
I don't get.
Well, okay, I can tell you why. Because they're too scared of being perceived as gay to just go watch soap operas. That's it. That's gotta be it, right?
Soap operas that appeal to you as that are targeted at a very white male demographic.
Yeah,
that's wrestling in their eyes.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my god. And the fact that just people unironically still subscribe to this theory is mind-boggling to me. But this is where it comes from. It comes from Vince buying out a show where currently much better matches are happening in real time than the shit he's putting on his show, and gloating about how they were always doomed to failure and how he is a god king of the industry for just having enough of daddy's money to buy them out and
you damn right. Do you want real matches? You know where real matches are happening? WCW, and look what happened to them. They're going out of business tonight.
But man, the fact that people actually subscribe to that philosophy just fills me with a slight existential sadness, you know? Yeah, you're right. Wrestling, I make this joke all the time, but this seems to be unironically like the mindset of these people. Wrestling on my wrestling show? Get it out of here.
Yeah,
Kill me.
So back to Vince rambling on is he said he asked
okay.
some might say,
sorry, one more thing. The billionaire line. Vince says, yeah, he fought off he beat the billionaires, and now he's gonna be a billionaire himself. And CM Punk says, X.
Right, which is always, again, the funniest thing about this is that how much WWE Vince has always framed the fight against WCW as fighting Ted Turner, when to Ted Turner, WCW was a fun side project. He always wanted funded and all that, but
he
didn't give a shit about the day to day.
And Vince, meanwhile, is getting extremely mad.
The real people in charge of WCW were men like Eric Bischoff, people who don't have significantly more money than Vince does.
Yeah, seriously. And goddamn, look what happened to Bischoff. His brain's just fucking broken.
But Vince didn't want to accept that he was ever beaten by some dude who just had a long history of odd jobs until he found his way into running a wrestling company. He wants, if he's going to accept he was ever beaten or who he beat a fucking billionaire.
God, he's literally just like Randy Orton posting from last episode where he's like, I have killed all the legends. You have done nothing. You are all beneath me. And it's like Ted Turner's over here like with his billions of dollars like, I just think this is neat. And Vince is like,
I just think this is neat.
I just think it's neat. And Vince is over here like, my career is the best out of all of you. I am better than all of you. My credentials are across the board better. I am killing gods. I am God. And Ted Turner's just like over here like sipping on, I don't know, a beer or something. He's like, oh, you say something, Vince? You having fun over there? I'm happy for you, buddy. And Vince is just frothing at the mouth, like rocking back and forth in his corner. Like,
Ted Turner is enjoying his billions of dollars from selling his company to AOL Time Warner. I don't think he cares what Vince.
He saw WCW. He saw like his like little passion project WCW singing. He's like, oh well, that's kind of sad. Alrighty. Anyway, moving on with my billions.
Yeah. So Vince is like, some would say that I did it with the help of various WWE superstars, but I did it on my own, my effort and my money. And it's all me. Mm-hmm. How do you beat a billionaire? You become one yourself.
Yeah.
And Vince says when he signs that contract, he's going to reserve a seat right in the front row in the corner for Ted Turner so he can watch what he's going to do to
beat up his
own son. And you got to grab your competition by the throat and squeeze the life out of him like I did to WCW, like I'm going to do to my son Shane.
Dude, it's so evil. Imagine like being a WCW fan in that audience and just watching bane of your existence, Vince McMahon, like stare you directly in the face and be like, yeah, I have control of all of this now, so you're going to watch me gloat about how much contempt I have for you and the thing that you care about so much that you're here to support it right now. Like, Jesus Christ, you psychopath. Give it a rest. We get it. You're cartoonishly evil. You don't got to keep rubbing it in.
Vince makes sure everyone knows that Stephanie McMahon will be there on Sunday to watch. Trish Stratus is going to be there to watch. And Trish, she was going to roll Linda down to the ring and put Linda right in the corner. So Linda can, from her wheelchair, can watch while Vince beats his own son.
Remains a very weird angle. This is such a fucking weird angle. What the fuck?
And so Vince then decides, he's curious about what he's going to do with WCW. Is he could just put it on the shelf and bury it forever. Or he could watch Hulk Hogan. He could watch just Hulk Hogan do his stupid poses and just watch as every time they say on Nitro, they're going to bury the WWF. He's just going to rewind and rewind again and laugh and laugh. And he says, he who laughs last, laughs best. I'm not exactly laughing, but I do have a big smile on my face.
God.
He then suggests that they could take WCW and turn it into a massive media conglomerate, just like the WWF, which actually is the closest to what they tried to do.
Pretty much,
WWF tried to shop the idea of a rebooted WCW Nitro to television networks who were like, no thanks, we don't want WCW Nitro.
Kind of fucking weird.
And the fans were like, no thanks.
No, we really don't want to see Vince.
WCW Nitro.
As run by Vince McMahon. Like, that just...
Well, that's 100% more that, like, WWF told their fans for years that Nitro sucks and is stupid and is the worst thing ever. And now they're like, hey, guys, do you want to watch the wrestling show we told you was stupid and dumb and the worst thing ever? And they're like, no.
That's fair. Yikes.
So Vince decides that he is going to ask the audience for some help about what to do with all these WCW wrestlers he now has under his employ. And so he does a thumbs up, thumbs down bit, which honestly, it mostly became like they booed or cheered the thumbs up as appropriate. That's how it basically played out. So Hulk Hogan. Yeah. And Hulk Hogan, boo.
Mostly booed. Yeah, people did not want to see Hoagie Boy around these
Lex
parts
Luger.
no more.
Boo. So the two guys who were in the WWF and left, they're like, fuck you. Don't come
Interesting.
Back. Buff Bagwell got cheered. They understand that Buff is the stuff.
Buff Bagwell weirdly over with this crowd. Okay.
I think Vince was also kind of surprised to hear that one.
Yeah, I think Vince kind of looked staggered for a second. He's like, okay then.
Booker T, cheers. And then he goes, oh, what about the genetic freak? Scott Steiner, big cheers.
Papa Pump. You refer to him as Big Papa Pump, and it's like, yeah. Huge
so
pop.
So after that, Vince is seemingly going to leave. And then suddenly Goldberg chants break out.
Yeah. He's like, you're not being terribly helpful here, which
I think he's being very helpful.
They're literally doing what you asked them to. How are they not being helpful, Vince?
Yeah. So he breaks out. He's like, Sting, what about Sting? And they're like, big cheers for Sting. And then he asks about Goldberg. Big cheers for Goldberg.
Giantest cheers ever for Goldberg.
Oh, you're all going to regret that, pal. I'll tell you what. Goldberg is not going to have a good time in the WWF. I'll tell you that.
Oh, he didn't? Oh, no.
So, Vince McMahon says that he had a choice tonight. Gloating, which he thinks he's doing a very good job of, and getting in a plane to go to Redneck Riviera, Panama City, Florida, and give all those WCW wrestlers a piece of his mind. And Vince now is like, WCW's last broadcast is in a beer hall in front of a bunch of rednecks. How appropriate.
And the crowd cheers like they are somehow not also that exact thing.
Mm-hmm. Vince
they're like, yeah, we're totally better than those beer drinking rednecks. Chug, chug, chug.
Chug, 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 chug. Vince says that he wants to line up.
Their top boy is a beer drinking redneck. What is wrong with you, dipshit?
But he's our beer drinking redneck.
I fucking hate WWF fans.
So that Vince says that he wants to line up every damn one of those wrestlers and tell them two words. You're fired! Because Vince has decided that he's going to put WCW on a shelf, all right. WCW is buried. It will remain buried, just like anyone who attempts to get in his way.
Yeah.
And this is when people start chanting asshole at him.
Yeah. And Vince is like starting to really bait like the booze here. God, there's so much to unpack about this. Like, Vince sitting here gloating about his grand victory, but still trying to get the crowd to like boo him for this. There's so much going on in this man's psyche over this shit right now, and I don't know if I have the constitution to spend any amount of time unpacking that absolute swamp trash fire.
Mm-hmm. Then Vince's music, "No Chance in Hell," hits again, which is also Shane's music. It plays, and Vince's like, "What? Why?" And he thinks it's Shane, and he's like prepared for Shane to come out. And we see Shane on the old Titantron. Shane is at Nitro. And he's like, "What's up, Vince? Shane is here. Shane is here." He's like, "What's up, Vince?" Because Shane says that, as usual, Vince's ego has gotten the best of him. And as at this point, you can hear "fuck Vince" chants coming through the Nitro feed.
Absolutely based. I'm so sorry you people were stuck watching this.
They had to sit there on what is otherwise a celebratory episode of the history of Nitro and WCW. They had to sit there and watch Vince jerk himself off for 15 minutes.
Specifically about how much he fucking has nothing but contempt for Nitro.
Mm-hmm. So Shane is like, "Well, your whole plan at WrestleMania is not going to work because the contract is already finalized. And the contract does say McMahon. But the contract reads Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon has bought WCW, and Vince's face is absolutely unbelievable."
Yeah, no. Oh, and big pop from the crowds for that one. But also, Jesus, there's also a lot more, also, one thing I have to point out real quick. I'm pretty sure, wait, let me look this up. Vince McMahon, meme. I'm pretty sure
there's definitely a meme of his face he makes when
his reaction
Shane tells him.
I'm pretty sure somewhere. Okay, it's not this, but he's making a face that looks like a Vince face meme, eyes wide, mouth in an O shape the whole time. It was weird, but anyway, yeah, big pops for this, and yeah, that's cool, but also the poor WCW fans, they need any kind of dub they can get tonight, and their dub is in kayfabe Shane McMahon, who in kayfabe doesn't like his dad buying WCW, and
in kayfabe, Vince
kayfabe.
Is still the real owner.
Yeah,
of course.
It's still, but in reality, everyone knows it's still owned by Vince. But God, they need any kind of dub they can get that Shane being "I bought WCW" is insanely cathartic to them, and it's you poor people, you all need hugs.
Right. So this is the big moment from this show that it's almost like,
and
whoa,
we still have an hour of show left somehow.
This is 100%. I didn't even realize this until tonight. This is 100% because Nitro airs from 8 to 10 and Raw is from 9 to 11. So on Nitro, this was the big show ending moment. But because of the time difference on Raw, this has to be the midpoint.
Man, that's so sad that this was the show ending moment for the final Nitro. Fuck you, Vince.
Right. But a hell of a moment. The preceding storyline, less so, because this is how the invasion starts.
Oh, well, yes.
But great moment here, iconic. Also, the look on Paul Heyman's face is hilarious. He is so despondent that he has been kissing Vince's ass for an hour, and Vince doesn't even own WCW.
He's like, wait, no, I wanted to feel some modicum of power vicariously through Daddy Vince.
All right. We go backstage. Vince is on the phone. He is just fuming at his attorney. He's like, "How could you let this happen?" And I would say, again, all you had to do was just sign the contract yourself, Vince, and not try to draw it out for the sake of a cheap humiliation bit at WrestleMania, and we could have taken care of it. But no, You had to be like, I'm not going to officially sign those papers until a more dramatically suitable moment. And Shane was like, okay.
Real life Vince is only slightly less of a moron than kayfabe Vince is.
Yep.
Only slightly.
Finally, we get to match 3 on this show. The Hardy Boys and Chris Benoit versus Edge and Christian and Kurt Angle. The matches start. The faces run up. They start brawling while the heels are on the ramp. The highlight of this match was 100%. Paul Heyman was trying to make a narrative point about the cohesive history of Edge and Christian and Kurt Angle, as opposed to, the Hardy Boys and Benoit are not friends.
Yep.
And in the middle, Jim Ross interrupts him to do a play-by-play of a 2 count. And Paul Heyman just goes, all right, Mr. Costas, don't interrupt me.
Don't go interrupting me. And you could, you don't actually hear anything. You don't see the commentary desk. I could feel JR just wanting to wrap his hands around Paul Heyman's throat and squeeze at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Deafening sounds from JR.
They do tables, ladders, and chairs, and Paul Heyman jumps in and says, oh my.
You're so fucking funny. Also, this is a random observation, but I guess I'm so used to older Hardys that to me young Hardys just look like their old selves put through a face filter. I have seen few people whose faces from young to old match up as fucking well as the Hardys do. Holy shit. They just look slightly more old nowadays. That's it. Jesus Christ. What fountain of youth are these men drinking from? Fuck. But yeah.
Match ends in about 2 minutes.
It's what? And Christian, Edge, and Benoit, and whoever the fuck is the other Angle. This should have been awesome. And it was nothing. It was another nothing burger. Austin with nothing but banger talent in the ring.
Yeah, it's literally Benoit tries to get the crossface back on Kurt. Christian jumps in to help, and then Chris Benoit just makes Christian tap out instead, and that's how the match ends, and they win. And then they start fighting again, and then Rhino shows up and gores Matt Hardy, and then Lita's like, oh no, my boyfriend. And then Rhino is like, I will also gore Lita. And JR is like, how dare you? Okay. We get another ad for the XFL. Fantastic.
Woo, XFL, woo!
I bet it's going great.
Oh, I'm sure. Hey, these advertisements show me nothing but promise, all right?
Yeah, all right. We get a interview with Kevin Kelly as he interviews the Brothers of Destruction. And Undertaker says that he's a patient man because he's asking about how mad are you that Triple H isn't here tonight? And Undertaker's like, I'm a patient man. Triple H, he can hide behind Vince. He can hide behind his skank old lady, referring to, of course, Stephanie.
Stephanie.
Slut. And he can hide behind all the police he wants, but he can't hide in 6 days. And they said some other stuff. We were honestly discussing the logistics of Kane's hair, and so I didn't catch any of it.
Yeah, okay. Because my notes here are, God, Mark Calloway Taker is so fucking lame.
He
is Mark Calloway. This is not the Undertaker. This is just Mark Calloway vaguely doing the Taker voice, kind of. But what? Why are you still the Undertaker? This is not the Undertaker. Why did people buy into this? I get it. It's 90s or early aughts, and especially 2001. Well, wait, no, 9/11 hasn't even happened yet.
No, we are pre 9/11. He's doing this shit.
But we're still Murica all over the goddamn place, so sure, I guess that's why he got over still. And yeah, because Kane, okay, so Glenn Jacobs, Kane's, shooty shoot name,
sure,
a famously bald man. And so
and the few times he's had hair are pretty short as well.
Yeah. So bald or buzz cut, right? So
right.
When Kane is Kane, he's got like a wig on. It's a wig.
Yes.
It's a big old wig, but it's a somewhat convincing wig. But like the trick is like you can kind of tell like his mask wraps around his head enough that like clearly the wig can kind of be like put on like in such a way that it looks like it's coming out of the hair or coming out of the head, but the mask covers it up and covers kind of the smoke and mirrors. But like Kane's mask here like stops after kind of like his actual face stops, but he still has a bunch of hair like staying on extremely well past that point, and it's kind of, and it looks also like it's legitimately coming out of his head, and it's kind of baffling me. I know I shouldn't get hung up on this detail, but this episode is so what the fuck is happening that I couldn't help just like stop and have a whole little tangent with myself about how the fuck does Kane's wig work and how does it stay on that good, especially when he's doing goddamn wrestling moves. What? Wow. Whoever runs the goddamn wig department deserves an award. Holy shit.
All right, time for the best match on this show. Test versus X-Pac.
Accompanied by Lord Albert.
Yes, it's time. This is the birth of everyone's least favorite or favorite, if you have good taste, stable X Factor. X-Pac, Albert, and Justin Credible. And I'll be honest, the best part about their gimmick is their next theme song, not the one we have here. Because you see, their next theme song will be What You Looking At by Uncle Kracker. Very 2002.
God.
But even better, what they do is they do the shittiest editing job of all time on this song.
You told me about this.
I have. They open the song with, yo, you dealing with the X Factor. And then they cut to the Uncle Kracker song. And the lyrics to this song in the middle of it are, and I know you hate that fact, but you ain't got to look at me like that. During the part where he says that fact, they extremely sloppily edit over a bit of someone saying X Factor. Like when I say sloppily, I mean you can still hear the original audio over top that was layered, that they layered the X Factor thing over on.
Yeah, you told me about this before, and I still can't wrap my head around it. Who thought that was necessary? It's just extraneous, and if you can't make it sound good, it's just gonna make it so actively worse. Whose idea was this?
It's phenomenal. It's hilarious. It's like a fucking breakup song or something. And they were just like, what if I throw in some X Factor every once in a while? This works.
I know, like half the time, if like wrestlers' theme songs don't actually like make sense if they're doing like licensed music. Like it's not super thematic. It's just a song that the wrestler likes. But like you don't then have to like try to force it to work. Like you can just leave it be and no one's gonna care. They're just gonna like that they can Leo pointing meme the song. That's all you need.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, Eddie Guerrero is the special guest referee, so obviously
for reasons. Yeah, why is this happening like this?
I don't know. William Regal's a bastard, I guess.
Regal's a bastard.
This falls apart quickly.
Really?
Where Test pins X-Pac off some, whatever move. And Eddie Guerrero does a slow count. And Test is like, what are you doing? And then X-Pac.
And JR's like, that seems like kind of a slow count, isn't it? And
Paul Heyman is like,
however he wants.
Paul Heyman is like, Eddie Guerrero's never refereed before. He's getting into the swing of things. He's figuring it out.
Yeah, okay.
He's going along. As then X-Pac starts hitting moves on Test, and several times he pins Test, and obviously fast count.
Oh, super fast count, but Test keeps managing to kick out the absolute madman.
So, okay, here's the finishing sequence. This match is also not long at all, but no. I had fun with Eddie. I have fun with guest referee screwing spots. Yes. So,
especially with supreme motherfucker Eddie Guerrero, absolutely.
So, Test hits a big move on X-Pac, and Eddie goes down to go to the pin. He goes, "Oh, my back!"
Yeah,
So I can't do it. Sorry.
Hernia or some shit.
So Test is like, what the fuck? And he punches Eddie and knocks Eddie out of the ring. And at this point, X-Pac runs over to get the European title to hit Test with. Test counters him, pins him, and then a regular ref runs in to count the pin. And then Eddie grabs the ref during the pin to stop the ref from finishing the count.
Oh, yeah.
So
Eddie gets knocked out and then comes to in time to fuck with the real ref.
And then the refs are arguing with each other on the outside, and Albert runs in and hits Baldo bomb, his big power bomb move on Test. X-Pac runs in to make the pin, and Eddie quickly counts the pin for the win.
God, fuck.
And then after the match, Eddie beats up Test some more, and is at this point where Paul Heyman suggests that Eddie really has a bright future as a referee when his wrestling days are over.
Uh-huh. Oh, that did not age well. X-Pac, also, like, X-Pac, absolute crickets for X-Pac's win. They did not pipe in any crowd.
By the way, the fans didn't care about any of this match. I adored it.
So
the fans didn't give a fuck.
They didn't give a shit. They're like, this doesn't have, like, Vince McMahon jacking himself off, and it doesn't have Stone Cold chugging beer. I don't give a shit.
I don't care. So Cole approaches Stone Cold backstage at like catering or something, and he wants to ask him about his match, and Stone Cold just walks away and says nothing.
Yeah, fuck you.
And then Mick Foley is here.
Daddy Mick, hi, how are you? And he gets a fucking standing ovation. Absolutely based, objectively correct way to greet Mick Foley in any setting. That man should be met with all of the standing ovations. God, I love Mick Foley, dude. I was saying this to you while we were watching. Like, Mick Foley is so goddamn niche. His shit was kind of so goofy. And the fact that he got, like, so over that he is now just viewed as an absolute legend who gets standing ovations just fills me with such happiness. Like, this is, again, objectively correct. No, few people in wrestling are more deserving of this kind of love than Mick Foley, and the fact that he actually rightfully gets it is proof to me that there is some justice in this world.
So, Mick Foley. At first, he's like, "Well, I'm not here to just hawk my new book. Foley is good, coming out May."
He is here to hawk that book, but not only to.
He says, he wants to take some time off, have done his vacation. Where better than right here in Cleveland, Ohio? He hits
as a proud Ohio shill myself, X.
Yeah. So Mick says that he wants to be a part of WrestleMania this year, and he's going to get involved in one of the biggest matches. And Vince comes out. Vince is so done with everything tonight.
Also, as Vince comes out and he's walking down the runway, he passes by a sign that says Foley for president. Absolutely true. My man's already got a built-in cabinet. Easy money. Fucking Cactus Jack is VP. Dude Love
is Secretary of State. I think he'd do great.
Dude Love is Secretary of State. Mankind is Speaker of the House. Easy money.
Of course. So Vince comes out. He's like, he's not in the mood for this. You're fired, Mick. Get out of here. I'm calling the cops. Yeah. And Vince.
And Foley greets us, by the way, with the most casual. Oh, hey, Vince.
Oh, hey, Vince.
Just so casual.
And so Foley quotes The Little Engine That Could. And he's like, well, I would love to do that, Vince. I would love to do that, Vince. But, I want to be at Mania. And he reminds Vince that in June, he left to go be a genetic jackhammer all over Connecticut. And Vince, and then in one of the dirtier things I think I've ever heard Mick Foley say, he strongly implied that Vince does not have a very successful performance.
Oh man, it was.
And in that time,
great.
Mick Foley became commissioner of WWF, and Vince came back in December, and he fired Foley right before Christmas. But Mick Foley wasn't stupid. He knew that as soon as Vince comes back, his days were done. So before Vince could fire him, he and Linda had a little business meeting. And they cut to a December 5th video of a meeting. And Vince and Foley does a lot of like past self jokes here, knowing as if knowing how Vince is going to act about this.
Yeah, Foley, I learned in this thing is just psychic. That's the only explanation for half of this.
So he explained that he had a meeting with Linda, and Linda had legal draw up a bunch of documents, and he's going to sit here and sign all of them, and they're all legal because he was still commissioner when he signed it. So they are still legally binding documents.
I feel like I feel like they could legal after he was commissioner. It would just be a little more legwork. But whatever.
Well, I mean, if he was fired, then there's not he doesn't necessarily have any that's contracts.
But yeah, fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
So Foley pulls out one such document, and he explains that this document says he can be special guest referee for any match of his choosing at WrestleMania, and he's choosing Vince McMahon versus Shane McMahon.
That's an insane thing to have been prepared for. How? How did he know? How could he possibly have known? Also,
again, I like to think that the reason this stack of documents was so big is because he was preparing for all possible contingencies. One of those documents says he can have any singles match he wants. One says he can have any tag match he wants.
Is it just the fucking orders programmed into the stormtroopers? They have every possible contingency in there, even the most weird random bullshit you think would never come up.
Sure.
Jesus Christ. Also, shout out to the crowd for having a big pop for fucking able-bodied Linda on screen with Mick. They clearly are not a fan of the angle they're running with Linda. He pulled that specific document that he signed out of his book, and I'm like, oh god, it's Mick's story time.
Oh no, chapter 1.
Chapter 1. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Vince McMahon.
Yes. And then old Mick decides to get real sassy, and to close it off, he says, "Well, in case you we're having one already. Have a nice day."
Yeah. This is just the worst day of Vince McMahon's life. The worst day of Vince McMahon's life so far. Thank you, Simpsons movie.
Very so far. So Vince is backstage now. He is despondent on the couch,
just eating those strawberries, man,
and then angrily spits them out.
And then, yeah, what the shit? Yeah, whatever. Okay.
All right, then after that is match 5: Chris Jericho versus Whale, the Big Show. Jericho tries to jump show before the match, fails completely.
Yep.
There is some back and forth, but this is yet another match that takes 2 minutes.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of fucking shenanigans. A bunch of people show up.
Right, so the order of events here is Big Show has Chris Jericho out of the ring. He throws Jericho back in the ring. Kane comes out to attack the Big Show. Raven comes out to bash Kane's face in with a trash can lid because hardcore. Regal runs in to attack Jericho and does so. And this sets up Big Show for the choke slam for the win. And then after the match, Raven attacks Kane some more and then gets choke slammed. Eat shit.
Okay. Here's the thing. I didn't care about a whole lot in this match. What I did notice, what really kind of came into my mind is how many fucking people tonight are wearing the company distributed WrestleMania 17 jacket.
Many WrestleMania 17 jerseys tonight.
Everyone. And it's nice how heel and face alike could agree to wear the new jackets shilling for the upcoming pay-per-view. Little bit of brand synergy goes a long way. But yeah, who needs real matches? We got bullshit. We got bullshit on top of our bullshit. And even more bullshit on top of that.
Speaking of bullshit,
we're just for a good time, folks.
Speaking of bullshit, The Rock is walking backstage and talks to some random crew member and is like, "Hey, where are directions to Stone Cold's locker room, and he gives kind of shitty directions, and The Rock snarks at him, and he gives better directions, and he's like, "Hey, you new here?" And the kid's like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, well, I'm The Rock." And he shakes his hand, and the kid is about to like say his own name, and The Rock stops him. And it's like, it sucks The Rock is a babyface now, because if he was a heel, he would very obviously do that. It doesn't matter what your name is bit. But because he's a babyface, he's not going to do that to some random production member.
You were buckling up for this kid falling for that shit, and I was like, "What?"
It's the bit. It's the Rock bit. Whenever he's like, "What's your name?" That is the most loaded question Dwayne The Rock Johnson could ever ask you. Is what's your name?
Dwayne Johnson asks you your name. You start to answer, and Dwayne Johnson's like, "I'm about to end this man's whole career."
It doesn't matter what your name is. He always does it. So I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna bully this young production crew assistant. But no, he teases it, but he's just like, nah, I don't care. Thanks. Goodbye.
Yeah, so he says it doesn't matter what your name is, but in the nice way.
Right. So they do some recap and shit with a weird fucking Greyhound bus ad.
Yeah, today I learned that the WWF Epic Voice Announcer guy is just a Greyhound in a suit, because they cut to a Greyhound in a suit whose mouth is like CGI'd to move a Epic Voice guy. What? So I guess canonically he's just a dog. That's neat to know.
Then we get the most useless check-in to WWF New York I think I've ever seen, and I've seen plenty of them by this point. As the Dudley Boys are there
that night.
They were jumping, but Dudley Boys were there. They didn't say anything of value. I literally don't have any notes on their promo.
I don't know. Something tables, ladders, chairs at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Devon hit the notes of, oh, my brother, testify. All right.
Yeah. Okay. And it's funny. It's funny how they do this too, because he fucking goes, tables, ladders, chairs, 2. Like, the 2 is so, like, tacked on and so nothing at the end. Is like, did I hear that correctly? But yeah. The joints jump into the world somehow, and the Dudleys are popping off. And then
Stone Cold is in his locker room with Deborah, and The Rock comes in. The Rock says he knows they don't want to team with each other. I don't like you. You don't like me. He's like, hey, as long as you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. All right. That's how it's going to work. And Stone Cold stops. He's like, he just wants to make sure it's understood that, after the match is over, all bets are off. And The Rock is like, hell yeah, it is.
Hell yeah.
Okay. We get the Hardy Boys Chef Boyardee ad where it's some snowboarders being like, this is extreme. And they do some snowboarding and then they stop. And the Hardy Boys are like, oh yeah, you think that's extreme? This is extreme. And they do their wrestling moves. And then they all eat Chef Boyardee's beef.
The guaranteed formula to print money. Hardy Boys, snowboarding, Chef Boyardee. That's instant money right there. No notes. What?
Mm-hmm. All right, main event, Kane Undertaker versus The Rock and Steve Austin is the longest match of the show, and it is like 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it's all and nothing happens. It is they coexist a little bit.
Yep.
And then
Mark Calloway enters to his new Rock remix of 18 Wheels on a Big Rig, going rolling. Oh, there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sure, or maybe the Limp Bizkit song "Rollin'." That might be more what they mean.
Okay, but it just keeps saying "rollin'," and all I could think of was 18 Wheels on a Big Rig.
Fair.
I thought you of all people would appreciate that. But yeah.
All right, so quickly, the Stone Cold malfunction junctions Rock off the apron, gets choke slammed by the Undertaker, and then oops, Triple H is actually here after all. He runs in with a steel chair, hits Taker in the back. Stone Cold pins him off of that. And then Stone Cold gets his beers and he starts celebrating, which shouts out to the beer toss guy who has to throw Stone Cold all
MVP.
Dude is automatic and makes this bit not look stupid.
Yeah, okay. So a couple of my notes from this match, again, all nothing of consequence because fuck, matches don't matter on this episode. So Stone Cold and his wife just don't even look at each other on the outside as they pass each other, like, on the ring steps before the match. Yikes. To, can they coexist? And, of course, Paul Heyman literally had to say the line because what the fuck is subtlety? Someone in the crowd has a sign saying the original Hardy Girls and pointing down, presumably at the sign holder.
At themselves, of course.
Yeah, at themselves. Well, how do you A, what does that mean? B, how do you quantify that? And then, so now Junction at the function. Also, while Trips attacks Taker, he's got, like, he's wearing a leather jacket and then, like,
yes, he's wearing his leather jacket and then a jean jacket over top of the leather jacket. This is Triple H's style.
I can't pretend, like, if, like, maybe the jean jacket were also black or something, I wouldn't also wear something like that. But also, what the fuck?
It's very metal.
It's so metal.
All right, so Stone Cold, he's setting up all these beers in, like, a row to just, like, do 4 at once. Mm-hmm. And The Rock runs up behind him and sneaks up behind him, and Stone Cold turns around, and by God,
and he hits the stunner.
The Rock hits the stunner on Stone Cold.
The disrespect.
And then I wrote, Deborah's looking conflicted, I guess.
See, I wrote, Deborah is doing her best to look conflicted about watching her abuser get dicked on in the ring.
I'm not convinced of Deborah as an actor and have nothing positive to say about it. And then I hope she's doing.
I hope she's doing okay. That's my comment about Deborah.
And then I make a note that Rock has to end the show drinking Busch Light as we go off the air.
Amazing.
And oh man, a whole lot happened here.
And a lot of it was
historic episode of Raw. That's why this episode's so fucking long. It's because a very historic episode of Raw.
And what wasn't stupid was just ghoulish as all hell.
Yeah. Yeah,
man,
this
that's
is most famous for Vince being an unrepentant jackass about buying WCW, and then Shane being like, haha, but you see, I bought it, except that's all story.
Yeah,
Vince did buy it.
It's so disheartening, dude. Like, this just makes me sad. Like, I put myself in their shoes, and if AEW were to go under like that and Triple H got on TV to pull some jackass shit like that, I might legitimately shed a tear or two, because that's just devastating. And Vince did not care. He has nothing but contempt for these people and is just actively, proudly flaunting that on live TV simulcast. Fuck you and the $1 million horse you rode in on, you jackass. Holy shit, it pisses me off. Oh my God.
Yep.
Fuck that guy.
But a historic episode of Raw, indeed, we got to watch here.
For better or worse.
Sure. But next time, we will be watching, we will be back in the Trot Love Square of 2012.
Yay.
We may or may not be finishing it. I don't have that nailed down yet.
Oh, we'll find out.
But yeah, we are moving on to the very least, the Money in the Bank, the last pay-per-view match of this storyline. We will be going on the road to Money in the Bank 2012.
Oh, shit, buddy.
Yep. All right. So that is for next time. Until then, David, hit our plugs.
Yes, sir. Dear friends, thank you for joining us once again on yet another episode of the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast. We are so happy to have you here. Whether you're brand new to the wild, wacky world of wrestling, or you're accustomed to all the bullshit, or if you're new to our show, or you are a returning listener, viewer, what have you. We just hope you've all had a great time here. The returning listeners, viewers, you know the drill. Thanks again for welcoming us back into your eardrums, your eyeballs. New people, hey, hi, how's it going? Thanks for being here. We here at the Noobs and Knockouts do like to think we are friendly to both noobs and knockouts alike. So we hope you've had a great time here. If you would like to keep having a great time with us and you're not entirely sure how to do so, well, not to worry, my friends. I have you covered. First of all, you can find us on YouTube. We are the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast on YouTube. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, make sure it turns a nice little solid color so you get notifications every single time we drop a brand new episode. It's awesome. Check out all of our playlists because Austin's been kind enough to organize all the storylines and shit that we follow into their own playlists, so you can follow some all the way down without having to skip around. It's great. Engage with us. And hey, we got video on this shit too. You can see our beautiful, sexy faces and all the little visual gags we hide in here. And Austin and me being cute and matchy with our OSU gear on today. So come check us out on the YouTube. But of course, if you're a fan of the audio-only experience, we have you covered there as well. We are on 3 of the best places to find your podcast, which would be Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts, of course. Check us out there. Rate us, download us, review us. Any sort of sweet engagement you can give us to let us know that, hey, you like the show and maybe other people like the show too. I don't know. I'm just saying. Check us out. YouTube, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. But of course, if you want to get a little more contact with us, we have options there too. We are on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Noobs and Knox Pod on Twitter. That's at Noobs, the letter N, Knox Pod on Twitter. Come check us out there. We post memes. We engage in discourse. We post every single time we drop a brand new episode, so you guys know what the hell's going on. The highlight of our Twitter is weekly wrestling live tweeting. That's been kind of my thing recently. Austin has been keeping up with weekly wrestling as much. I'm also currently like 3 weeks behind. 2 weeks behind at this point. Either way, but we're gonna get back to it. I'm gonna get back to it. Now that I'm done with the show that I was doing and I actually have my life back. It's good shit. We'll hop on there. But aside from the weekly live tweeting, of course, our boy Austin is diligent enough to keep up with all of the major company pay-per-views going on. My friend, what is on the docket coming up?
Right. So upcoming for AEW is November 19th is AEW Full Gear.
Yeah, Saturday. What the?
For WWE is Survivor Series War Games. November 26th. Crown Jewel is over today.
Crown Jewel.
So there's that. And then Impact Wrestling is Hard to Kill on January 13th. Normally I'd have more to say about this, but we have been recording for a very long time today.
That's
so
fair. No, hey.
I'm going to give that the quick once over.
A lot of that shit's super far off anyway. We don't really just it'll come down the pike, all right? Get off our backs. But yeah, it's a great time over on the Twitter. If you enjoy listening to Austin me ramble for hours on end about this shit for some reason, Jesus Christ, it's going to be like a 3-hour-long episode. If you enjoy that, you'll enjoy the Twitter. Our voices carry over pretty well. Austin's all smart and analytical. I'm just on my weird snarky bullshit. Either way, it's a great time. Check us out at Noobs and Knoxpod on Twitter. But of course, if you want to get in super direct contact with us, we have an option for that as well. We have an email address. You can email us at noobsandknockoutspod@gmail.com. That's noobs, the word and this time, knockoutspod@gmail.com. Come say hi to us there. Tell us what you like or don't like about the show. Give us requests for like wrestling things you want to see on the show. Tell us how based our hot takes are, how much you think they suck, or just how our beautiful dulcet tones lull you to sleep every night. Whatever. We love people saying hi. We would love to say hi back. Noobs and knockoutspod@gmail.com. And of course, finally, we are on Patreon. We are also the Noobs and Knockouts Podcast on Patreon. You can find the link for it in our Twitter account. $1 a month gets you early access to episodes and a shout out at the end of each episode. Shout out to friend of the show, Sugar Daddy Kyle Smith, for being part of our $1 tier. Thank you so much, buddy. Enjoy your perks. If you want to enjoy your perks along with Kyle, sign up. $1 a month only. Just a single little buckaroony on the Patreon. Noobs and Knockouts Podcast on Patreon. Once again, the link is in the Twitter arena. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.
See y'all next time.
Hasta luego.